Chapter 1090, Dragon Blood Tree, Monkey Mountain. Chapter 1090, Chapter 384, Dragon Blood Tree, Monkey Mountain. Also considered the contribution to the family. This son, albeit quite mediocre, is diligent and earnest in his dealings and conduct. Once told to learn puppetry technique, he devoted himself entirely to it. After entrusting him with the puppet workshop, he dedicated all his time and energy to it. If not for the welfare currently available at By Lake Mountain, as the person in charge of the puppet workshop and a Lu family elder, it would be impossible for Lu Xianxia to still be at the 6th level energy refinement with the abundance of elixir medicine's resources. Sigh. Lu Chongsheng sighed softly when he thought of this son. Lu Xianxia was his first child with a spiritual root, and he initially paid much attention to him. But as the number of wives and children increased, his attention dwindled. And Lu Xianxia himself was of an introverted and somber demeanor, always burying himself in work, never boasting about his achievements, barely noticeable within the family. Now that Pingon is almost taking over Monkey Child Mountain, it's a good time to make a visit. Lu Chongsheng, not being overly sentimental, informed Lu Miaoyun and then set off for White Tiger Mountain. He was planning to give the Dragon Blood Tree and Heavenly Longevity technique to his son, Lu Xianxia. This Dragon Blood Tree, originally an iron tree, was quite suitable planted on White Tiger Mountain. In the Grand Hall of White Tiger Mountain, Heavenly Longevity technique, refinement of a lifespan spiritual plant. After hearing his father's words, Lu Xianxia was silent for a moment before bowing deeply to Lu Chongsheng. "Thank you, father. Birth, aging, sickness, and death are the natural course of life. I have long let go of any thoughts about foundation establishment, and am quite content with life as it is. Although cultivating this heavenly longevity technique could allow one to break through to foundation establishment and even aim for core formation, for me to achieve it alone and ultimately watch Tiaoer and Xian Yu and others pass away one by one, I truly cannot accept it, so, I will not cultivate this heavenly longevity technique." Dressed in a wide blue robe, mature and steady-faced, Lu Xianxia said so. The heavenly longevity technique, though excellent, ultimately only confines one to a place, to watch as wives, children, and even siblings pass away one by one. He is unwilling to endure that. Lu Chongsheng was momentarily stunned, not expecting his son to verbally refuse. However, he could understand Lu Xianxi's thoughts. Cultivation is indeed wonderful but also exceedingly harsh. Successful cultivation means watching close friends and relatives die off. This is why many cultivators choose to live alone, unencumbered. He had worried about this matter in his early years, but as time passed, he gradually became indifferent knowing that birth, aging, sickness, and death are the natural courses of human life. "Alright, if you change your mind, you can always talk to me." Lu Chongsheng did not try to persuade or force him. His son was already grown up with his own ideas. "Thank you, father." A faint smile appeared on the mature and steady face of Lu Xianxia, knowing of his father's partiality towards him. His wife often mentioned that his father favored him, yet being a reserved person, he didn't know how to seek further affection from him. He was very much aware of these dynamics. But he was someone content with his lot. Knowing that with his own spiritual root, talent, and capabilities, if not for being born in the Lu family and valued by his father's favor, his life would far be worse off in any other family force. Thus, he always harbored a grateful heart easily satisfied. "I plan to go and check out Monkey Child Mountain, and you should also go get acquainted with the situation." Lu Chongsheng looked at his son and spoke. "Yes, father." Lu Xianxia nodded in response. Soon the two made their way to Monkey Child Mountain. The journey from White Tiger Mountain to Monkey Child Mountain wasn't far, about 300 li. In less than an hour, Lu Chongsheng and Lu Xianxia arrived at Monkey Child Mountain. "Is this Monkey Child Mountain?" Lu Chongsheng looked ahead at Monkey Child Mountain, noting its resemblance to Jianghu Mountain. But instead of the abundant green bamboo of Jianghu Mountain, Monkey Child Mountain was covered with fruit trees. The spirit boat landed at the mountain gate. Greetings to Lu Ancestor. Greetings to the Mountain Lord. At this moment, at the gate of Monkey Child Mountain, besides Tao family cultivators, several White Tiger Mountain cultivators were present. Lu Changsheng nodded his head, and with Lu Xianxia entered Monkey Child Mountain, scrutinizing the situation inside. After a while, Lu Pingan, hearing of Lu Changsheng's arrival, hurried over. Father, Xianxia. Lu Pingan, dressed in silver armor, with a tall and imposing stature, conveyed a sense of solemnity and majesty. Pingan, what's the current situation at Monkey Child Mountain? How is the Tao family's relocation going? Lu Changsheng asked his son. Father, the Tao family has almost finished moving, it should be completely done in about half a month. But there are a few matters that need your decision. Lu Pingan spoke. Lu Changsheng asked, "Oh, what's the matter?" According to the agreement you made with the Jin family initially, when Monkey Child Mountain was handed over to us, we were not to damage the formation, spirit vein, buildings, nor the spirit fields and fruit trees. However, it didn't say we can't pick the fruits on the trees. The Tao family is willing to compromise on ordinary fruits, but there are 12 second-rank spirit peach trees on the main vein of the mountain. These spirit peach trees will be mature in about half a year, and the Tao family has expressed that they either pick these peaches now or wait until they mature and take 70% of them. Moreover, with the Tao family leaving, we temporarily do not have enough farmers or spiritual plant masters to take care of the fruit trees. Lu Pingan scratched his head, somewhat troubled. He did not really enjoy interacting and handling such matters. Second-rank spirit peach trees. Lu Changsheng's eyebrows twitched, and he spoke, "I'll go have a look." The trio then went to the main vein of Monkey Child Mountain. Lu Ancestor. Seeing Lu Changsheng, the Tao family patriarch bowed with some unease. Chapter 1091, Dragon Blood Tree, Monkey Mountain. Chapter 1091, Chapter 384, Dragon Blood Tree, Monkey Mountain. After all, handing over one's own spirit land so readily, one could hardly maintain a good countenance. Tao Laozu. Lu Changsheng gave a slight nod, having seen the other party before at Golden Dragon Ridge. However, only a few months had passed, and the other seemed to have aged considerably. I heard from my son that you wished to wait for the spiritual peach trees to mature and then split the produce 30 to 70. Lu Changsheng, in a green magical robe, stood tall and straight. Indeed, according to the agreement made with Lu Ancestor and Jin Laozu that day, it was said not to destroy the fruit trees in the mountain, but it was not said that the fruits couldn't be taken. The common spiritual fruit trees in the mountain, my Tao family is willing to give all to Lu Ancestor. But these 12 spiritual peach trees, my Tao family has spent a lot of time and effort cultivating them, and it will only be half a year until maturity. We do not wish to pick them prematurely and waste them. The Tao family patriarch said very politely. After all, if Lu Changsheng were to be unreasonable, issuing a challenge by saying, "Try and pick them," they would indeed not dare to pick, and at most, they could go to the Jin family to make a complaint. But it's highly unlikely that the Jin family would come to blows with Lu Changsheng over such a matter. Even if they did intervene, they would want to take the majority of the spiritual peaches. A split of 70 to 30 is too much, but I have a few conditions. If Tao Laozu is willing, I may even give you all these spiritual peaches. Lu Changsheng stated directly. What conditions? Asked the Tao family patriarch. I need your Tao family to arrange some fruit farmers to take care of the trees in the mountain for 1 year. And about the cultivation methods of the fruit trees in the mountain, the planting techniques, and your Tao family's winemaking heritage. Lu Changsheng spoke. At the time he gambled on Monkey Hill, he was not too clear about the specific circumstances and hadn't considered much. Now he's realized that taking over Monkey Hill requires a transition. Just as when he took over by Lake Mountain. Lu Ancestor's conditions, might they be a bit too harsh? The Tao family patriarch's face looked somewhat distressed. Already extremely frustrated with having surrendered the spirit land so readily, continuing to help with the care and also surrendering the cultivation methods for fruit trees and wine brewing techniques, researched generation after generation, was akin to throwing away the roots of the Tao family. Rest assured, I, Lu Changsheng, am not such a domineering person. If you can provide these heritages, I can also offer you a corresponding second-tier wine brewing heritage. Or another second-rank talisman path heritage, second-tier pill path heritage, Lu someone has them all. Lu Changsheng said with a calm expression. Although he's a second-tier top-level wine master. Having the Tao family's existing wine brewing heritage would mean that he only needs to understand the general process, then he could analyze and optimize it, without the need to spend too much time in this area. The cultivation methods for fruit trees were the same. Although he could ask Zhao Qingqing to study these fruit trees, it would still take too much time and effort. Rather, it's better to directly acquire the Tao family's heritage in this area. This way, his own family can then look to optimize and improve the situation, making it simpler and saving time. This matter is of great importance, I need to consider it. The Tao family patriarch's face changed from cloudy to sunny as he spoke. Now that they no longer have Monkey Hill, the value of these fruit trees' cultivation methods and wine brewing techniques isn't as great. It's just that these belong to the family's ancestral knowledge and efforts, and they are reluctant to give it up so easily. But Lu Changsheng's words were tempting. Okay, Tao Laozu can take your time to consider it. If you decide, just inform me. And although I did not agree with Jin Zan about picking the fruits, since it was said not to damage the trees in the mountain, naturally picking the fruits also constitutes damage, so Tao Laozu should not deceive yourself. Lu Changsheng gave the Tao family patriarch a deep look, with a calm and indifferent voice. Under his gaze, the Tao family patriarch's heart gave a fierce thump. Recalling the day at Golden Dragon Ridge, when Lu Changsheng deployed the talisman formation to suppress Jin Zan, the Tao family patriarch replied with a somewhat bitter voice, Tao someone understands. Lu Changsheng did not go on speaking, took his two sons for inspection around Monkey Hill, feeling that the spirit land here was not bad. The only thing was the name Monkey Hill did not sound very good, he was considering whether to change the name when the time comes. Chapter 1092, The Children Break Through to Foundation Establishment, Spiritual Embryo of Heaven and Earth. Chapter 1092, Chapter 385, The Children Break Through to Foundation Establishment, Spiritual Embryo of Heaven and Earth. Golden Dragon Ridge. Lu Changsheng has gone to Monkey Hill alone. Upon hearing the report from below, the ancestor of Jin family's eyes narrowed slightly, cold and profound. Since the core formation ceremony, after witnessing Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge join forces to suppress Jin Zan, a killing intent had taken root in his heart, contemplating the elimination of the two in secret. Otherwise, allowing the pair to continue growing was far too terrifying. Now learning that Lu Changsheng had ventured out alone, without Lu Miaoge, a surge of murderous intent welled up in his heart. This lad has obtained the legacy of the talisman path. The third-rank talisman used by Ling Zixiao back then could very likely be related to him. If this lad still has third-rank talismans in his possession, the ancestor of Jin family's hands clenched into fists unconsciously, his mind wavering indecisively. Given the relationship between their families, if Lu Changsheng were to die mysteriously near Monkey Hill, many would suspect the Jin family. If this led to a complete fallout with Bihu Mountain, it wouldn't bode well for the Jin family either. However, what worried him most was whether he could kill Lu Changsheng in one blow. After all, the rapid rise of Lu Changsheng over the past decades and his myriad methods demanded utmost caution. And the ancestor had witnessed the power of Lu Changsheng's talisman formation himself. He knew if he failed to kill Lu Changsheng immediately, it would become extremely difficult to do so afterward. This lad so brazenly heads to Monkey Hill, perhaps it's to signal to me that he's venturing out alone, awaiting my move. After much contemplation, the ancestor of Jin family's murderous gleam subsided, and he decided to hold back. He would wait until he could procure something that could counter talisman formations or ensure a fatal blow, not allowing Lu Chongqing to escape, and then take action. Humph, let this lad be arrogant for a few more days. The expression of the ancestor of Jin family was icy cold. At this moment, Lu Chongqing was unaware of the ancestor of Jin family's intent to harm him. After patrolling Monkey Hill with Lu Xianxia and returning to White Tiger Mountain, he disguised himself and, along with Thousand Faces Puppet Fox, lay in wait outside Golden Dragon Ridge. Although Jin Zan had been severely injured by him previously, and it was unlikely the Jin family would stir trouble soon, based on his understanding of the Jin family and Jin Zan, it was impossible for them to let the matter lie. Thus, to play it safe, he decided to kill one of the two Jin family members with a false core. However, after half a month of surveillance, Lu Chongqing gave up. It was too exhausting. Constantly on alert, any passerby would require confirmation through divine sense to ensure they were not the ancestor of Jin family or Jin Zan in disguise. Let's just wait for the Jin family to make a move. Lu Chongqing sighed. As the Lu ancestor, he had never done anything this taxing in his entire cultivation journey. Moreover, with Jin Zan recently wounded by him, it was unlikely he would venture out anytime soon. He would probably recuperate at home, practice divine skills, and nourish his magical treasures. And since the ancestor of Jin family seldom left home, Lu Chongqing had no clue when the ancestor would be out and about, making it uncertain how long he would have to wait. Bihu Mountain. What? Azure Phoenix Immortal has gone missing. Upon returning to the Lu family mansion, Lu Chongqing received shocking news from his wife during their casual conversation. Yes, everyone suspected Azure Phoenix Immortal didn't appear because of serious injuries. But after more than a year, many powers have probed Azure Phoenix Immortal City, and White Peak Immortal, who had previously challenged Azure Phoenix Immortal, also made a public challenge, but Azure Phoenix Immortal never showed up. So now, rumors are spreading that Azure Phoenix Immortal has most likely left Jianghu country to seize an opportunity for a breakthrough to the nascent soul in a fourth-rank immortal city. Lu Miaoyun spoke softly. Leaving Jianghu country to seek a breakthrough to nascent soul opportunity in a fourth-rank immortal city, Lu Chongqing felt that this was highly likely. In earlier years, he had discussed with Li Feiyu and knew that Azure Phoenix Immortal was already several hundred years old. If she did not attempt a nascent soul breakthrough, her condition might decline, affecting her chances of success. Staying in Azure Phoenix Immortal City, Azure Phoenix Immortal would have no chance of breaking through to nascent soul. Only by leaving Azure Phoenix Immortal City and heading to a fourth-rank immortal city to find the right opportunity, could she hope to break through to nascent soul. Azure Phoenix Immortal has built the Azure Phoenix Immortal City. Over the hundreds of years, the accumulated wealth is vast. Moreover, with her strength, if she is willing to join a power, surely quite a few nascent soul-level powers would extend an olive branch, offering her access to a fourth-order spirit vein, Lu Chongqing stated. The Heavenly Sword sect was unwilling to see Azure Phoenix Immortal achieve a nascent soul breakthrough. But other nascent soul-level powers in various cultivation nations seemed willing to make such offers. What is the current situation of Azure Phoenix Immortal City? Lu Chongqing continued to inquire. Without Azure Phoenix Immortal to anchor it, the Immortal City might very likely change hands. He had previously sent a letter to Azure Phoenix Immortal City to inquire about the situation with Li Feiyu. Li Feiyu just indicated that he would take extra care and told Lu Chongqing to rest easy, advising him to avoid Azure Phoenix Immortal City if possible in the meantime. Now, it's just that the rumors are escalating, causing panic in Azure Phoenix Immortal City. Many loose cultivators are leaving, and no power has made a move against Azure Phoenix Immortal City yet. But if things continue as they are, with Azure Phoenix Immortal remaining absent, it's estimated that in a few years at most, powers will act against Azure Phoenix Immortal City. Lu Miaoyun said softly, her tone laced with melancholy. Since her childhood, she had heard of the great name of Azure Phoenix Immortal City, a haven for loose cultivators. She had even once dreamed of visiting this immortal city. But now, she was hearing that this immortal city might soon decline and perish. Also, there are rumors that many loose cultivators have flowed into the marketplace of spirit-taming sect due to the instability in Azure Phoenix Immortal City, but with too many newcomers and competition for resources, incidents of robbery have become frequent, affecting the order within the region boundary of spirit-taming sect, Lu Miaoyan continued. Although the situation with Azure Phoenix Immortal City didn't affect the Qingyun sect, the neighboring spirit-taming sect had already been impacted. Sigh, there's never been true peace in the cultivation world. Chapter 1093, Children Break Through Foundation Establishment, Spiritual Embryo of Heaven and Earth. Chapter 1093, Chapter 385, Children Break Through Foundation Establishment, Spiritual Embryo of Heaven and Earth. Lu Chongsheng shook his head and sighed. In the Jianghu country cultivation realm, the spirit-taming sect, due to its proximity to the myriad beasts mountain range, has always had the worst public order and the most robber cultivators. Now, under the influence of Azure Phoenix Immortal City, the public order has worsened, and it is expected that many cultivators will again flee to Qingyun sect, Wuxia sect, and Heavenly Sword sect. Time flies, and in the blink of an eye, half a year has passed. During these days, Lu Chongsheng has been cultivating the yin-yang primordial elixir method at home and has condensed 6 elemental elixirs. For the matter of Flower Fruit Mountain, the Tao family ultimately agreed to provide methods for nurturing and planting fruit trees, as well as the family's fruit wine brewing techniques. However, they demanded 1 portion of the second-order top-grade talisman path heritage and 3 second-order top-grade talismans. Faced with this demand, Lu Chongsheng naturally did not agree and only gave 1 second-order top-grade talisman. They really think second-order top-grade talismans grow on trees. He subsequently sent a message to Zhao Qingqing, asking her to help look after the spiritual fruit trees on Flower Fruit Mountain, to see if there is any need for optimization or improvement in the planting and cultivation process. Also, Lu Chongsheng renamed Monkey Mountain to Flower Fruit Mountain. Many family forces are reluctant to change names because it's very inconvenient having to mention the old name after the change, as no one would recognize the new one. It might take years, even decades, for people to remember a new name. But Lu Chongsheng didn't care. He didn't need people to remember the new name of Flower Fruit Mountain right now. Father, this day, Lu Qingxian came to find Lu Chongsheng. He expressed that he was ready and could attempt foundation establishment at any time. Alright, since you're prepared, let's start now. Lu Chongsheng noticed his son's spiritual power was well-rounded and satisfactory, his mindset stable and calm, not arrogant or impulsive, and nodded. He did not let his son break through to the foundation establishment in Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. It wasn't that he didn't want to tell him about the Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. Simply because over the years, nobody in the Lu family had achieved foundation establishment openly in public. Since Lu Qingxian, as a widely recognized talent with a 4th-grade spiritual root and born of a concubine. Thus, Lu Chongsheng thought it might be good for him to break through at Baiyun Peak, creating some commotion to set an example for his family and inspire them. As for attracting trouble by having one more foundation establishment cultivator in the family, Lu Chongsheng wasn't too worried. After all, compared to defeating Jin Zan with Lu Miaoge, this matter was less conspicuous. Yes, father. Lu Qingxian, seeing how casual his father was about his foundation establishment, felt somewhat dejected. But thinking about his father's accomplishments, such a trivial foundation establishment would naturally not be deemed important by him. Don't pressure yourself too much, foundation establishment is just the beginning of cultivation. Lu Chongsheng patted his son's shoulder and said softly. Yes, father. Lu Qingxian, resolved, nodded in response. Then, the two went to the back mountain, where Lu Qingxian sat cross-legged and solemnly began operating the Thunder Fire 9 Arts cultivation technique, preparing to strike at foundation establishment. Lu Chongsheng acted as his protector nearby. Being a father, he wasn't usually very attentive, so naturally, he stayed nearby to guard during such an occasion. Moreover, foundation establishment was prone to errors despite prior instructions on important points. Being beside him, he could intervene and provide guidance the moment something went awry to prevent accidents. This was the benefit of having a master and elder to protect. After a long while, Lu Qingxian felt his essence, qi, and spirit were filled to the brim, in peak condition, and without further hesitation, he ingested the Supreme Foundation Establishment elixir. Boom! His qi ocean core roared and surged with spiritual power, spreading through his limbs and filling his entire body, creating a tidal wave of spiritual pressure that caused the nature's spiritual energy to violently rush towards him. It starting, Lu Chongsheng watched quietly as his son began his foundation establishment. His son was only 35 years old, practicing an off-mainstream level cultivation technique, Thunder Fire 9 Arts, with a foundation establishment elixir, so the 3 obstacles of foundation establishment shouldn't pose any problem. Moreover, considering his son had undergone too little tempering and his mental fortitude might be lacking, Lu Chongsheng also prepared a divine sense foundation establishment object for him to ensure a flawless attempt. Just then, a system notification suddenly sounded in Lu Chongsheng's mind, accompanied by a surge of rich and pure mana. Congratulations host, 5 of your progeny have achieved the foundation establishment stage, bloodline effect, progeny's spiritual body inheritance rate increased by 1%, receive 1 advanced draw opportunity. Huh? Lu Chongsheng was startled and a bit puzzled. What's going on? Lu Qingxian had just started, how did he already achieve the foundation establishment stage? But Lu Chongsheng instantly realized it must be his other children reaching foundation establishment. Who is it? At this moment, Lu Chongsheng genuinely did not know which child had achieved foundation establishment. After all, he has 7 children at the 9th level of energy refinement, and 4 of them were outside. After a while, Lu Chongsheng knew which child had achieved it. Name, Lu Qingzhu, lifespan, 41 of 231, talent, 7th grade spiritual root, cultivation level, 1st layer foundation establishment, talent, talisman making compatibility, 35%, little Zhu has achieved foundation establishment. Seeing that it was his daughter Lu Qingzhu who had achieved foundation establishment, a gentle and relieved smile appeared in Lu Chongsheng's eyes. His daughter merely possessed a 7th grade spiritual root, making foundation establishment quite challenging. Now seeing his daughter having succeeded, Lu Chongsheng was very happy and wished to inform his wife, Lu Miaoge, immediately. Only, such a matter couldn't really be explained to his wife. I wonder if Qingzhu and little Zhu will come back later. Lu Chongsheng felt a bit longing. He had always been very fond of these 2 children. Yet, because they went to Jianghu sect, they had only gathered twice in over 30 years. Actually, regarding Lu Qingshan, Lu Chongsheng felt okay. He thought this son's personality made him suitable for striving on his own outside. Chapter 1094, The Children's Breakthrough in Foundation Establishment, Spiritual Embryo of Heaven and Earth. Chapter 1094, Chapter 385, The Children's Breakthrough in Foundation Establishment, Spiritual Embryo of Heaven and Earth. He has always been deeply concerned about his daughter, Lu Qingzhu, worried that she might be bullied outside and hoped she could stay safely at home. But with the siblings depending on each other in the outside world, it was impossible to let only Lu Qingshan stay out while bringing Lu Qingzhu back home. However, with Qingshan there, little Zhu shouldn't be bullied. Lu Chongsheng muttered to himself with a soft sigh, not overly sentimental, and continued to focus on Lu Qingxian before him. Time passed by slowly. Lu Qingxian had completed the 3 stages of foundation establishment. In the qi ocean core within his dantian, the misty liquid mana spread out, beginning to condense into a Dao foundation. The 3 stages of foundation establishment, apart from the divine sense stage which was somewhat lacking, the other 2 stages are quite perfect. Lu Chongsheng's expression was calm, knowing that his son should be able to condense a flawless foundation base. A flawless foundation base was already quite impressive. To achieve a perfect foundation base, one would need not only to improve one's temperament further but also to use countless heavenly and earthly treasures to refine the physical body, mana, and foundation before there was some hope. Of course, if Lu Changsheng was willing, giving him the 5-element spirit fruit to consume might result in a perfect foundation base. But the 5-element spirit fruit tree in the system space wasn't planted yet, and Lu Changsheng was not yet indulgent to that extent. As the third stage of foundation establishment broke, the nature's spiritual energy from the mountain behind suddenly sped up, beginning to surge wildly, forming a spiritual energy whirlpool several zhang in diameter in the sky. What's happening? This is a spiritual energy whirlpool. Someone is undergoing foundation establishment. Foundation establishment, who within the family is attempting it? Is it Qingxian or Wangshu, or which auntie? The anomaly of the nature's spiritual energy immediately drew the attention of many people around Bai Lake Mountain to the back of Baiyun Peak, stirring up a flurry of envious, longing, and excited discussions. After all, the family was welcoming another foundation establishment great cultivator, a great event. Especially since not long ago, Lu Changsheng and Lu Miaoge won Monkey Mountain from the Jin family, and the family needed a foundation establishment great cultivator to preside over it. Xiener, on a pavilion, Xiao Yuyao dressed in a goose-yellow palace dress, her black hair neatly combed into an elegant xinyan, clutched a handkerchief tightly in her hands with a gentle and graceful face full of nervousness, looking towards the back mountain. She knew that it was her son, Lu Qingxian, who was attempting the foundation establishment. Although there were many foundation establishment cultivators at Bai Lake Mountain nowadays, for Xiao Yuyao, foundation establishment cultivators were no longer so unattainable and mighty. But for her own son's foundation establishment breakthrough, she was filled with anticipation and surprise. It looks like he should have achieved a flawless foundation base. In the Lu family mansion, Lu Miaoge murmured softly while looking at the spiritual energy swirl and then gently said to the beside her, Wangshu, it's almost time for your breakthrough, isn't it? Father said let me not rush to break through. Wait until I'm more familiar with the spiritual patterns before I attempt foundation establishment. Lu Wangshu, who was playing with Lu Qingxian, said listlessly. Over the years, seeing Lu Lingxiu's cultivation speed, she worried that she might be surpassed by him one day. Thus, she thought of achieving foundation establishment earlier, to maintain her dignity as an elder sister, but her father disapproved. Your father is doing this for your good. The 99 mystical talisman scripture you practice belongs to the type that builds up a strong foundation before making a breakthrough, Lu Miaoge spoke soothingly. Knowing that this daughter before her was a true genius. Once she breaks through to foundation establishment, with the accumulated foundation, she'd probably be not much inferior to her son, Lu Qingshan. Thus, under everyone's attention and discussion, half a month passed. That day, a faint halo of colors rose from the spiritual energy swirl behind Baiyun Peak and then slowly faded away. Spiritual aura manifesting as a halo, that means the breakthrough was successful. Apart from Big Brother, our family now has another foundation establishment cultivator. Foundation establishment, we still have foundation establishment elixirs in the family. As long as I quickly reach the peak of 9th level energy refinement, I could also hope to break through. I wonder if the family will still have any foundation establishment elixirs left by the time I reach the 9th level of energy refinement. Many Lu family disciples paid close attention to the situation, feeling encouraged but also an added sense of urgency. Although the family has foundation establishment elixirs, everyone thought these were limited in number, and one might miss out by being too slow. Therefore, even amongst siblings, something like foundation establishment was worth competing for. Behind the cliff of Baiyun Peak. Father. Lu Qingxian, immediately after the successful breakthrough, opened his eyes, looking excited and joyously called out to Lu Changsheng. Even though in previous years Lu Changsheng arranged for him to be tempered in the marketplace, increasing his maturity, at this moment, having succeeded in his foundation establishment breakthrough, there was still an uncontrollable joy in his heart. Qingxian, congratulations on your foundation establishment. Lu Changsheng's face showed a smile as he said to his son, now take your time to experience the transformation of the Foundation Establishment baptism. Later your father has a gift for you. Yes, father. Lu Qingxian closed his eyes again, knowing that it was not the time for great joy or sorrow. After Lu Qingxian completed the Foundation Establishment baptism, his entire being, essence, qi, and spirit, visibly changed, his body emanating a faintly intense and powerful aura. Let's go, well, see your mother. Lu Chongsheng spoke, going with his son to see the concubine, Xiao Yuyao. Master, Qingxian, in the courtyard, Xiao Yuyao saw Lu Chongsheng and his son Lu Qingxian arriving through the air, her expression stunned, and her eyes somewhat teary. In her life, she had experienced drastic ups and downs. In her early years, her family was destroyed, and she was sold into the White Jade Tower. She thought she had reached a dead end in life but then met Lu Chongsheng. Despite continually giving birth, the seventh child she bore not only possessed a spiritual root but a fourth-grade spiritual root at that. And now, this son had even broken through to Foundation Establishment, becoming a Foundation Establishment great cultivator that her entire former family would have had to look up to. Mother. Lu Qingxian came before his mother and bowed deeply. Chapter 1095, Sons and Daughters Break Through the Foundation Establishment, Spiritual Embryo of Heaven and Earth. _4 Chapter 1095, Chapter 385, Sons and Daughters Break Through the Foundation Establishment, Spiritual Embryo of Heaven and Earth. _4 Very good, very good, Xiao Yuyao wept tears of joy. For a moment, she didn't know what to say. Yuyao, you've worked hard these years. Lu Chongsheng stepped forward, holding Xiao Yuyao's hands, and said softly. This servant has not suffered, to have met my lord is the luckiest thing in this servant's life. Xiao Yuyao said with a choked voice. After a brief catch-up, Lu Chongsheng asked Lu Qingxian to go back and solidify his cultivation level, and to come to find him once his realm was stable. Then he told Lu Miaoyun to inform their son Lu Xingyang, and to arrange a simple Foundation Establishment ceremony at home to celebrate, inviting only a few familiar families. System, draw the lottery. After delegating tasks, Lu Chongsheng arrived at the summit of Blue Cloud Peak to start the advanced lottery he had obtained before. I wonder what I can draw this time, please, no more cultivation techniques, Lu Chongsheng muttered to himself. Although the two previous lottery draws had yielded grand prizes like the Yin-Yang creation scripture, he truly feared the system might offer him another cultivation technique. Cultivation techniques of the orthodox level he could still teach at home. But cultivation techniques obtained from the advanced lottery had too high a threshold, none could be taught currently, so they were left to gather dust. Immediately, the advanced lottery will appeared, bathed in golden light, and eventually stopped at the heavenly and earthly treasure section. Ding, congratulations to the host for obtaining Peachwood Spirit Womb. Reward has been issued to the system space, the host may check at any time. Instantly, an image of a blackened peach tree appeared, along with a system notification sound. Spiritual embryo? Lu Chongsheng saw the prize and his heart jolted, he immediately looked into the system space. Spiritual embryo, Peachwood Spirit Womb, grade, 4th rank, description, born from the spiritual mechanism where the 10,000-year peach gods would meets heaven and earth. If it reaches great success, it can transform into a true spirit. It really is a spiritual embryo of heaven and earth, but why is it only 4th rank? Lu Chongsheng frowned slightly at the description of his prize. He hadn't expected the advanced lottery to have a 4th rank prize. But thinking about it, he realized it made sense. A regular lottery would only produce a 4th rank prize with extreme luck, and having 4th and 5th rank prizes in the advanced lottery was also normal. I wonder if this spiritual embryo is the same as what I've read in ancient texts. If it is, Lu Chengsheng's eyes narrowed as he murmured to himself. He had come across the concept of spiritual embryos before in a handbook. Born not of flesh and blood, they were nourished by heaven and earth. Spiritual embryos come in many kinds. It could be a stone, a piece of jade, a piece of wood, or even an entire mountain, a river, or a flame, a blade of grass. Different from demons, spiritual embryos are born from the moment of life and death as a product of the yin and yang of the world, gradually nurtured into existence. In theory, such spiritual embryos can grow continuously, eventually becoming a true spirit, invincible in the world upon their emergence. However, for a spiritual embryo to grow into a true spirit is nearly impossible. Their very formation is exceedingly harsh, a sort of miracle. Every step of growth requires enduring long years and countless tribulations. Thus, the notion of such spiritual embryos growing into true spirits is mostly theoretical. Nevertheless, these nurturing spiritual embryo of heaven and earth are supremely treasured and incredibly rare for cultivators. Not only can they be used to refine great elixirs, increase cultivation level, nourish divine skills. They can also be utilized to cultivate external incarnations and refine Dao soldiers. In the handbook Lu Changxing once read, there was a record of a top-tier sect that acquired a 9-aperture stone womb, from which they refined the nurturing spiritual embryo into one of the supreme Dao weapons. Extract. Without hesitation, Lu Changxing chose to extract the spiritual embryo, to see if its effects were exactly as he knew. Chapter 1096, 100-Year Nascent Soul, Divine Communion. Chapter 1096, Chapter 386, 100-Year Nascent Soul, Divine Communion. A huge half of a withered tree appeared in front of Lu Changxing. The trunk was charred all over, resembling a stump, without a crown or any branches. However, on the trunk, there were 9 dazzling and bright peaches, as if they were carved from jade, radiating with a vibrant life force. Peachwood Spirit Womb. Lu Changxing looked at the Peachwood Spirit Womb in front of him. Through the system, he knew that the Peachwood Spirit Womb before him was indeed the same as the spiritual embryo of heaven and earth that he knew. It was originally a 10,000-year-old peach god tree. During the transformation tribulation, a spark of spiritual mechanism was born under the heavenly tribulation by chance, thus nurturing this spiritual embryo. Currently, the spiritual embryo still had no consciousness, being in the midst of growth. Only when it grew to 5th rank would it begin to slowly generate cognitive thoughts. This Peachwood Spirit Womb could not only be used as a top-tier great medicine to enhance one's cultivation level and nourish divine skills, but could also require vast efforts to cleanse the spirit womb, and with the soul dwelling within, refine it into an external incarnation or a Dao soldier. Such a spiritual embryo, if made to come into this world prematurely, would possess 3rd-rank cultivation directly, comparable to core formation. With the continuous nourishing of heavenly and earthly treasures, it could rapidly grow, and at most within 100 years, reach the 4th-rank nascent soul level. Unlike cultivators or demon beasts, this growth process has no bottlenecks and flows naturally like water finds its course. If I refine this spiritual embryo into an external incarnation, wouldn't I have a nascent soul doppelganger? In less than 100 years, could it grow into a nascent soul true lord's doppelganger? Lu Changxing was somewhat astonished in his heart. In the Jianghu country cultivation realm, nascent soul immortals already belonged to the 1st tier, esteemed and revered. And this spiritual embryo was born with 3rd-rank cultivation. With sufficient resources, it could grow without bottlenecks to 4th rank. Keep in mind that in the entire Jianghu country cultivation realm, there was only Xianjian true monarch of the heavenly sword sect, who was a nascent soul true lord. Moreover, this spirit embryo, before it comes into the world, can be influenced through the soul's dwelling and heartfelt cleansing, so that it can grow in the appearance one desires. For example, if I want a sword cultivator doppelganger, a sword cultivator Dao soldier, it could be perfectly aligned with the 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture if I let the embryo cycle this cultivation technique in its embryonic state. At this moment, Lu Changxing deeply understood why such heaven and earth spirit embryos were suitable for refining into external incarnations. However, he did not have the intention of refining an external incarnation. Firstly, he currently did not possess the cultivation technique for external incarnations. Secondly, the cultivation of external incarnations was extremely demanding. As far as Lu Changxing knew, at least the core formation stage was needed to practice external incarnations. Moreover, such a method required one to sever half of their own soul. For cultivators, the soul was of utmost importance. Not to mention severing half, even ordinary damage required considerable time to heal. To sever half, one not only needed to spend countless heavenly and earthly treasures to nourish and repair but probably also needed decades of recuperation. Lu Chongsheng could not afford to invest so much time and energy for a doppelganger. Moreover, he had read in ancient books that such external incarnations had several hidden risks. For instance, if the doppelganger left the main body for too long, it could potentially develop its own consciousness, or its cognitive thoughts might differ from those of the main body. Even more, if the doppelganger became stronger than the main body, it might even backfire. Although the likelihood of this was very small. But just this risk alone was enough for Lu Chongsheng to disregard the method of external incarnation. However, this spirit embryo is quite suitable to be the body for Hong Lian, Lu Chongsheng mused silently. Although the spirit embryo could also be refined into a Dao soldier, compared to refining a Dao soldier, he was more inclined to use it to rebuild Hong Lian's physical body. On one hand, he had made a promise to Hong Lian in his early years. On the other hand, given Hong Lian's current soul state, finding a suitable body to merge and accommodate her soul was extremely difficult. Initially, Hong Lian herself set 3 rough conditions. A complete skeleton of a nascent soul true lord. Heaven and earth spirit objects that could be used to refine external incarnations. Certain physical bodies crafted from heavenly and earthly treasures. Any of these conditions were very stringent. Even if he made a breakthrough to core formation, he might not be able to obtain them. Yet, the Peachwood spirit womb directly met the above 3 conditions. Not only could it perfectly integrate and accommodate her soul, but it could also allow her to tailor-make her own body. And it would enable her to quickly return to peak performance, recovering to the nascent soul true lord cultivation level. Just that if I do this, there's one problem, Lu Chongsheng's eyes slightly narrowed. Although Hong Lian had been tirelessly performing duties for the Lu family these past decades, refining pills, artifacts, formations, even teaching and advising the children, she was obedient to him, like a maid. But deep down, Lu Chongsheng still had not completely trusted Hong Lian. After all, she was a nascent soul true lord. Understandably, she would be more courteous because she was relying on someone else. But for a nascent soul true lord to be so excessively amiable towards him felt exaggerated, didn't it? With Hong Lian's insights and methods as a nascent soul true lord, if she were to obtain the Peachwood spirit womb, escaping from his control would be incredibly easy. Therefore, Lu Chongsheng harbored some worries. I'll wait until I've achieved core formation, then explore her intentions later. After pondering for a moment, Lu Chongsheng entrusted the Peachwood spirit womb before him to the care of the Mount Summer Tree King. Deciding to consider giving the spirit embryo to Hong Lian only after he had achieved core formation. By the way, if the spirit womb naturally nurtures life, what would be the nature of the child it bears? Human, or a peach demon? Lu Chongsheng thought suddenly, hitting upon a question. With regards to Hong Lian, to say he had not the slightest interest would be impossible. After all, to truly become one of his own people, isn't it all about going from being intimate to having her as the mother of the child? Moreover, this process of coexistence is a perfect way to cultivate affection. Never mind, let's not count our chickens before they hatch. Chapter 1097, 100-Year Nascent Soul, Divine Communion. Chapter 1097, Chapter 386, 100-Year Nascent Soul, Divine Communion. Lu Chongsheng shook his head, not dwelling on it too much, and went to Chongsheng Hall to use the cultivation and magical power he had gained for condensing the elemental elixir. According to the theory he knew, it was extremely difficult for humans and the demon race to have offspring, let alone conceiving a spiritual embryo that counts as half a true spirit. However, if it really came to life, it couldn't be bad. Yu Country, Jianghu Sect. Return to Jianghu Country, Upon hearing Lu Qingshan's words, Tianyuan True Immortal observed the siblings before him and pondered, saying, "Currently, Azure Phoenix Immortal City is unstable due to matters concerning the Azure Phoenix Immortal. If you go back now, you must be careful. If it's not urgent, you could wait a few years to return, or wait until I have time to take you back." Tianyuan True Immortal said so. Azure Phoenix Immortal City was located on the border between Jiang country and Yu country. Now the affairs of the Azure Phoenix Immortal were causing a great stir, attracting attention not only from many forces in Jiang country but also from numerous forces within Yu country. Once it is confirmed that the Azure Phoenix Immortal has left, several major forces will divide Azure Phoenix Immortal City. Azure Phoenix Immortal City. Lu Qingshan, hearing this, became somewhat interested and asked, "Master, is it true as the rumors say that the Azure Phoenix Immortal left Azure Phoenix Immortal City to seek a nascent soul opportunity outside?" Most likely, the Azure Phoenix Immortal is almost 400 years old. At this age, even with heavenly and earthly treasures or secret techniques to maintain her state, delaying further will affect the probability of forming a nascent soul. Tianyuan True Immortal, dressed in a luxurious bright red robe, looked languid, sipped from a flask in her hand, and spoke. These forces were almost certain that the Azure Phoenix Immortal had already left Azure Phoenix Immortal City. They were now observing to confirm whether the Azure Phoenix Immortal genuinely departed or only pretended to leave, actually fishing. After all, the rumors of the severe injury of the Azure Phoenix Immortal in her early years had trapped many people and forces. 400 years old? Lu Qingshan was somewhat surprised, not expecting the Azure Phoenix Immortal to be so aged. However, recalling that the other was once known as Jiang country's #1 independent cultivator and had been famous for several hundred years, it seemed reasonable. He continued to inquire, "Master, what are the chances of success for the Azure Phoenix Immortal's breakthrough to the nascent soul?" 30%. Tianyuan True Immortal took another sip of her drink. Only a 30% chance for the nascent soul, for Jiang country's #1 independent cultivator? Lu Qingshan was a bit surprised. Although a 30% chance was already high for many nascent soul immortals, in his view, compared to the legendary life of the Azure Phoenix Immortal, this probability seemed somewhat low. 30% is already very high. It's rumored that the Azure Phoenix Immortal's talent wasn't considered high initially. It was only because of fortuitous encounters and acquiring a kind of acquired spirit body along with the Qinghuan Dao Bing, that she gradually rose to such a level. These hundreds of years, although Azure Phoenix Immortal had ingested a massive amount of spirit stones and heavenly and earthly treasures through the Azure Phoenix Immortal City, cultivating her Dao soldier, the spiritual beast Azure Wan, wanting to obtain an infant transformation elixir to help break through to nascent soul was nearly impossible. Without the infant transformation elixir, relying only on an acquired spirit body or a few nascent soul spiritual objects, a 30% chance is already the highest. Furthermore, the Azure Phoenix Immortal is proud and unwilling to join other forces, making it a challenge to get a fourth-order spirit vein for striking at the nascent soul, only able to head for a fourth-order immortal city. Tianyuan True Immortal shook her head and said somewhat emotionally. While speaking of the Azure Phoenix Immortal, she was also reflecting on the difficulty and uncertainty of her own breakthrough to the nascent soul. Infant Transformation Elixir. Lu Qingshan nodded, knowing that just like the Foundation Establishment Elixir during the Qi Refinement Realm and the Coagulation Crystal Elixir during the Foundation Establishment stage, there was an elixir medicine called Infant Transformation Elixir during the Core Formation's breakthrough to nascent soul. It could help nascent soul cultivators more smoothly shatter the core to transform to infant. But for independent cultivators, obtaining such an elixir was practically impossible. Still, Lu Qingshan guessed that perhaps even a sect like Jianghu didn't have the means to obtain the infant transformation elixir. "What do you plan to do?" Tianyuan True Immortal looked at Lu Qingshan and inquired. "Master, I still plan to return now. Little Zhu and I will take the spiritual vessel all the way, hence there shouldn't be any danger." Lu Qingshan looked at his sister beside him and said directly. He knew that his sister had always been looking forward to returning home after her foundation establishment. Now that she has achieved it, if they waited a few more years, she would say nothing, but would surely feel disheartened inside. Alright, since that's the case, you two will take the sect's spiritual vessel, and once you reach Azure Phoenix Immortal City, continue using the Qingyun sect's spiritual vessel. Tianyuan True Immortal didn't try to persuade otherwise. After all, with Lu Qingshan's strength, as long as he didn't encounter someone at the false core immortal level, there would generally be no danger. Thank you, Master. Lu Qingshan smiled and greeted with a bow. Thank you, Master. Lu Qingzhu gently pursed her lips, her tranquil and elegant face also showing a joyful smile. Bihu Mountain. Changsheng Hall. Lu Changsheng was cultivating the Sun-Moon Samsara technique with Lu Miaoge. At this moment, the two entered a mysterious state, as if their souls were traversing the great void, their divine sense and souls beginning to touch and merge like water with milk. Their souls, thoughts, and spirits seemed to merge into one, each able to feel the deep affection and thoughts in the other's heart. After an unknown amount of time, in a trance, the two simultaneously opened their eyes flowing with a spirit desire, making their gazes sticky and intense. Ah! At this moment, both uttered in surprise, as if seeing something astonishing. Is this, Sun-Moon Samsara technique at the stage of small achievement? Lu Changsheng looked at Lu Miaoge, whose forehead now bore a bright moon, and said with some delight. The minor achievement of the Sun-Moon Samsara technique would form a sun and a moon on the foreheads of the man and woman respectively. Afterwards, the two could meld their souls and refine their divine sense through these celestial bodies, purifying their souls. I didn't expect the Sun-Moon Samsara technique to reach small achievement so soon. It seems this technique was tailor-made for us. Lu Changsheng looked at his wife, whose face blushed like jade, breathing lightly, his hand wandering over her white jade-like, tender skin, his heart filled with tranquility. Though they had been husband and wife for many years, Lu Miaoge always had a gentle sisterly demeanor that was very comforting. Lu Miaoge's beautiful eyes were moist as she nestled against Lu Changsheng's bosom, softly responding. Although aware that their fast progress in the Sun-Moon Samsara technique was related to the earlier soul path dream. Seeing herself and Lu Changsheng's high speed in cultivating the technique, Lu Miaoge still felt sweet joy in her heart. After a while, the two continued with the Sun-Moon Samsara technique for dual cultivation, melding their soul and physical body, stabilizing foundations, and enhancing their cultivation level. Although Lu Changsheng's soul was comparable to that of a nascent soul immortal, and his cultivation could not progress further, this process mainly benefited Lu Miaoge. But due to their cultivation of the Tai-E life water technique, Lu Changsheng felt his mana refining somewhat. And his physical body, under this wonderful dual cultivation technique, gradually imbued with more of the essence of utmost kindness like water, infinite and nurturing, soothing his organs, meridians, and dantian. Their mana flowed like a brilliant long river between them, endlessly cycling, making Lu Miaoge's exquisite jade body emanate mysterious yin and yang energies. With the help of the yin-yang creation scripture and Sun-Moon Samsara technique, their compatibility with the Tai-E life water technique now might even surpass that of the ancestors who created the technique. This made Lu Miaoge's technique not only not inferior to the profound mystery rank but also made her cultivation speed comparable to that of someone with a top-grade spiritual root. Once Lu Changsheng breaks through core formation and his Tai Dao seed advances further, she could reap many benefits, and her future core formation seemed promising. After a long time, the two completed their dual cultivation, filled with a spirit desire in their hearts, feeling an inseparable connection. Afterwards, Lu Changsheng clearly realized that this belonged to the side effects of the soul dual cultivation of the Sun-Moon Samsara technique. The two would indulge in the spirit desire. Or rather, it was as if experiencing this profound spiritual communion for the first time, they were somewhat enchanted. This made Lu Changsheng realize the effects of this soul dual cultivation. During this process, it was easy for the two to develop feelings and increase their fondness for one another. And in the meeting of their minds, the two truly shared openly, understanding each other's thoughts and ideas. Can I use this profound communion to cultivate a relationship with Hong Lian, and understand her nature, thoughts, and ideas? Lu Chongqing pondered. Now that the Sun-Moon Samsara technique had reached a minor achievement, he also gained a secret technique. He could actively merge his soul with others, using his own soul to nurture and repair someone else's soul. Although this process could cause a slight harm to himself, leading to spiritual listlessness, it could enhance the relationship during the communion and provide insight into each other's thoughts and ideas. Hong Lian has worked hard all these years without much acknowledgement, and she's also the master of my son. As a father I should properly thank her. Lu Chongqing stroked his chin, thinking that a little harm wasn't a big issue. But this matter, too, had to wait until after core formation. After all, his soul and Hong Lian's were too different at the moment. If the convergence process proved ineffective, it would be embarrassing. Chapter 1098, The Last Cultivation, Striking Down the Ancestor of Jin Family. Chapter 1098, Chapter 387, The Last Cultivation, Striking Down the Ancestor of Jin Family. In the cold and quiet underground cave. A year later, Yun Wanshang sent a message again, asking Lu Chongqing to help with cultivation. This was their last cultivation session together. But the process was the same as before. As soon as Lu Chongqing arrived, he entered a familiar state where he could not see or move. Following that, a fragrant and sweet elixir medicine emitting a charming aroma was fed into his mouth. Once his blood boiled, a soft and graceful jade body straddled him. Lu Chongqing honestly operated the Sun-Moon Samsara technique. However, as the cultivation technique operated, a bright sun emerged at his forehead during the intermingling process of yin and yang with Yun Wanshang, and the physical restraint began to gradually dissipate. Lu Chongqing was slightly startled and somewhat surprised. What's happening? Why is the restraint on his body being released? Could it be that this true immortal is indicating that he should take the initiative? But he immediately realized that this was the effect of the Sun-Moon Samsara technique. Because his small achievement in the Sun-Moon Samsara technique made the dual cultivation effect more harmonious. Thus, during this process, the opponent's primordial yin mana merging with him helped to partially dissolve the restrictive force on his body. The Sun-Moon Samsara technique also has this effect. Lu Chongqing was a bit surprised. However, having been unable to move for so long, he felt somewhat uneasy now that he suddenly could, unsure of what to do. After a moment, his mental spirit stirred tentatively and he reached out to embrace the stunningly beautiful jade bodice waist. Instantly, Lu Chongqing felt the body of Kaiyun True Immortal tense up and stiffen for a moment. However, she did not say anything and continued to ride, letting him take his actions. Seeing that she seemed not to resist, Lu Chongqing gradually became bolder. Several days later. In another dark room in the cave. A spiritual pool formed by the eyes of a spiritual spring, the spiritual energy and mist steaming and pervading, making the bleak and cold room seem touched by the aura of immortals. Yun Wanshang, with her black hair cascading like a waterfall, unparalleled in beauty, her celestial-like jade body soaked in the spiritual spring, only exposing her snowy white shoulders above the water. She quietly watched the golden core in her chi ocean core, radiating a brilliant luster. On the surface of the golden core, there were mysterious and extraordinary glazed golden cloud patterns. A black and white yin-yang fish slowly swam around the golden core, as if meticulously carving this core. After these days of dual cultivation are over, I can aim for the immortal golden core after this closed-door cultivation, Yun Wanshang silently thought to herself. A first-grade golden core, also called an immortal golden core. In any power, it is considered to be a nascent soul seed. It is rumored that even those with a lower-grade spiritual root, as long as they obtain an immortal golden core, have a fair chance of breaking through to the nascent soul stage. Because the Tao Foundation, golden core, and nascent soul are all symbols of a cultivator's potential and foundation. Through a person's Tao Foundation, golden core, and nascent soul, one can know their strength, foundation, and future potential. And an immortal golden core is the highest achievement in the core formation stage. However, thinking about how Liu Changsheng's Sun Moon Samsara technique has achieved a small accomplishment and he has become increasingly bold these days. Never mind. Yun Wanshang shook her head, not too concerned. He has been under her restraint, unable to move for so long. Now finally, this last time, she can let him indulge a bit. After all, no matter what he does, he cannot resist her. Liu Changsheng. Don't overstep your bounds. Liu Changsheng. You're being too presumptuous. Since this was their last time, the two underwent dual cultivation for half a year. During this process, Liu Changsheng continuously tested his master's limits. Although he wasn't able to reverse their roles, at least it wasn't as boring and passive as before. There was some slight interaction. Through this thorough interaction, Liu Changsheng gained a deeper understanding of this Kaiyun true immortal. Her image overlapped continuously with the image in the soul path dreams. Will this continue? Perhaps he'll even hear, Liu Changsheng. Aren't you quite proud? Liu Changsheng inwardly speculated. But with the end of cultivation with this Kaiyun true immortal, he could now confidently pick the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus, solve his family's spirit vein, and prepare for core formation with peace of mind. At that moment, Liu Changsheng saw the neatly dressed Kaiyun true immortal approaching. She wore a colorful and luxurious palace dress, her hair neatly styled up, her beauty as if a celestial maiden had descended, her elegance and grace unparalleled. However, at this moment, her noble and sacred, cool and celestial face, faintly displayed a touch of indescribable enchanting allure. Senior. Liu Changsheng bowed with his hands clasped. Although the two of them had already become very close, he still maintained a certain distance and the respect that was due. Primarily because Kaiyun True Immortal's personality was quite serious, not one for jokes. In matters of cultivation, I owe you a favor. If you encounter any trouble, feel free to send me a message. If you need help with your core formation one day, you can also find me. Yun Wanshang stated coldly and calmly. Even though the yin-yang energies from Liu Changsheng originated from her own spirit-nurturing energy, and the dual cultivation process was beneficial for both, she did not take it for granted or feel she owed nothing. Thank you, Senior. Liu Changsheng bowed with his hands clasped. Having been ridden by her for so long, the reason he didn't inherently despise or detest her was because her attitude was fairly decent. Far from being haughty or overbearing. Yun Wanshang gave Liu Changsheng a deep glance, didn't say much, and left as a divine rainbow. Through the long period of dual cultivation, she had already realized that Liu Changsheng was concealing his cultivation level through some means. It couldn't just be Foundation Establishment's 6th layer. Most likely, he had already broken through to the Foundation Establishment late stage. However, regarding this, she did not inquire further. In the cultivation world, those who rise up, aside from the few top-tier geniuses, which one didn't have some fortunate secret? Chapter 1099, The Final Cultivation, Smashing the Ancestor of Jin Family. Chapter 1099, Chapter 387, The Final Cultivation, Smashing the Ancestor of Jin Family. Like Liu Changsheng, a cultivator from a modest family, to reach such a realm within mere decades, his chances and secrets are anything but ordinary. So, if he is in need, she wouldn't mind supporting his growth, offering a little help along his cultivation journey, and considering it as forming a good connection. Moreover, should she one day face the challenge of reaching the nascent soul stage, she may need to rely on Liu Changsheng's cultivation. When Liu Changsheng saw Yun Wanshang leave, he took a deep breath and slowly exhaled, turning himself into a beam of escape light as he headed back to Bai Lake Mountain. Kaiyun True Immortal had just returned to Kaiyun Peak when she saw her disciple, Xianxia, coming back. Without needing to think, she knew Xianxia probably went to Bai Lake Mountain. Thinking that for the past half-year Liu Changsheng had been with her, Yun Wanshang felt a hint of unwarranted guilt in her heart. Alas, fate plays with people. Yun Wanshang watched Xianxia, whose figure was as lonely as the 9 heavens' bright moon, and let out a small sigh. There was a time when this disciple of hers was lively and radiant. But for the sake of the great Tao, she practiced the supreme forgetful love technique and became like this. To transform for the sake of the great Tao is one thing. But to now also be trapped in the tribulation of love, with her Tao heart compromised and the path ahead uncertain. Master. Xianxia noticed her master standing at the peak, looking at her, and approached with a respectful bow. The master, of course, approved of her cultivation with Lu Changsheng. But in her heart, Xianxia understood that her master hoped that through the sun-moon samsara technique, she could see through the mortal world and comprehend her Tao heart. Moreover, the fact that she had gone to buy Lake Mountain showed she hadn't moved on. Shiyu, to attain the state of supreme, one must perceive the heavenly heart without bias or attachment, beyond joy and anger. Your teacher still hopes you can find your way out, Yun Wanshang said gently, looking at her disciple. Xiaoxia's resolve on seeking the Tao was very firm. Otherwise, she would not have been accepted as a disciple in the first place. Master, I understand, Xiaoxia said, fully aware of the meaning behind her master's words. She lightly pursed her lips, suddenly raising her head, her eyes as clear and bright as the moon above, speaking softly, Master, the ways of heaven are unpredictable, callous yet emotional. Can both be possible paths for the Tao? Yun Wanshang paused at these words, looking at the disciple in front of her and sighed, the ways of heaven are unpredictable, affectionate yet indifferent, who can truly know? The supreme forgetful love technique you cultivate is impartial as the ways of heaven, doomed not to follow this path. Reflect on what you need during your daily cultivations, and what is the Tao in your heart, Yun Wanshang advised softly. After speaking, she disappeared, returning to her own palace. Regardless, she still hoped her disciple could break through her Tao heart. Supreme forgetfulness is not heartlessness but the impartiality of heavenly ways, but if the heavenly ways are impartial, why do some people seem to be favored by heaven, with a smooth cultivation path laden with fortunate encounters, while others seem destined to die young or are forced to become outlaws, or even befallen by disasters from above? Xiaoxia murmured to herself in contemplation. The discussion she once had with Lu Changsheng about the philosophy of yin and yang, emotions and indifference, had greatly influenced her. She knew that overcoming the tribulation of emotions was almost impossible. Thus, she wanted to follow Lu Changsheng's suggestion, to find her own path based on the foundation of the supreme forgetful love technique. By Lake Mountain. Lu Family Mansion. Xiaohe, how many spirit stones have you saved up? Lu Wangshu saw her younger sister, Lu Lingyi, seriously counting the spirit stones and asked. Ah, I forgot, I haven't finished counting yet. Lu Lingyi, in a red jacket with her hair tied into cute buns, looked up perplexed and said. Lu Wangshu's eyes curved into a smile as she cheerfully took out 10 spirit stones from her storage bag and handed them to Lu Lingyi, saying, Xiaohe, sister has a few more spirit stones here, they'll give them to you. Ah. Lu Lingyi blinked in astonishment, her sister often tricked her for spirit stones, so why was she giving them to her today voluntarily? She tilted her head, her voice crisp as she asked, Sister, don't you need the spirit stones? Isn't it only right for a sister to give her little sister some spending money? Lu Wangshu lovingly stroked her little sister's head with a look of affection. But if you give them to me, you won't have any left, sister. Lu Ling's innocent face revealed her simple-mindedness as she said so. Worried about your sister, huh? All right then, let's keep the sister's spirit stones with you, and well spend the money together. In a few days, sister will take you to the marketplace, do you want to go? Lu Wangshu beamed brightly, hugging her sister affectionately as she spoke. Thank you, sister. Lu Lingyi happily agreed, then put the 10 spirit stones into her own sachet-style storage bag. From a distance, Lu Lingxiao saw Lu Wangshu talking to their sister and immediately approached. Seeing her sister fooled yet unaware, he said annoyed, Lu Wangshu, you're tricking Xiaohe out of spirit stones again. Lu Lingxiao, watch how you speak to your sister. I and Xiaohe have a close sisterly bond. You could learn a thing or two from her, show some respect to your sister. Lu Wangshu folded her arms and scoffed at her brother. Sister, brother, don't fight. Lu Lingyi, seeing her brother and sister about to argue, hurriedly spoke up. If they started quarreling, her brother would end up being beaten by her sister again. What's going on here? At that moment, Lu Chongsheng had just returned home and, hearing the commotion, came to inquire. It's nothing. Lingxiao, Xiaohe, and I were just playing around, Lu Wangshu said, sounding somewhat sheepish. Humph. Lu Lingxiao gave Lu Wangshu a cold snort and said, Dad, it's nothing. He was often bullied by Lu Wangshu, but he never snitched. He vowed to one day surpass Lu Wangshu with his own strength. Chapter 1100, The Last Cultivation, Assaulting the Ancestor of Jin Family. Chapter 1100, Chapter 387, The Last Cultivation, Assaulting the Ancestor of Jin Family. Come, Xiaohe, tell Daddy what happened. Lu Chongsheng naturally knew that his daughter, Lu Wangshu, and Lu Lingxiao didn't see eye to eye. Or rather, Lu Wangshu liked to tease her siblings on normal days. Xiaohe relayed the situation, and after listening, Lu Chongsheng was left somewhat speechless as he looked at his daughter. He thought to himself that the other party was truly bored enough to find different ways to trick Xiaohe out of her pocket money every day. However, despite Lu Wangshu's tactics, his daughter Lu Lingyi never seemed to learn her lesson and continued to trust Lu Wangshu deeply, which baffled Lu Chongsheng. Alright, Wangshu, you're already such a grown-up, try to tease Xiaohe and Lingxiao less in your daily life. Lu Chongsheng said to his daughter Lu Wangshu. As a second-grade talisman master, this daughter of his wouldn't lack money on normal days, let alone needing the few spirit stones from Lu Lingyi. This was purely out of boredom, seeking amusement through her younger brother and sister. However, by Lake Mountain, Lu Wangshu often played and messed around with Lu Lingxiao and Lu Lingyi. Now, there were also Lu Qingqi and Lu Qingxian. Got it. Lu Wangshu pouted as she spoke. Subsequently, Lu Chongsheng inquired about the cultivation progress of the three children. Lu Wangshu had long reached the 9th level energy refinement peak and was capable of breaking through to foundation establishment. However, Lu Chongsheng still advised her to continue accumulating. Because with the 99 mystical talisman scripture, cultivation technique, when breaking through foundation establishment, one could condense the comprehended spiritual patterns and runes into their Dao foundation. Not only could this enhance the Dao foundation's depth, but it could also condense a life-bound divine talisman and perform techniques like void drawing of talismans, whose power would far exceed that of an average person. For instance, the same talisman or talisman formation, in the hands of an ordinary person, would have normal power. But in the hands of Lu Wangshu, the effect and power would be 30 to 40% higher, or even doubled. Such an increase was tremendously exaggerated. By then, Lu Wangshu's talisman formation would be a real trump card. Her son, Lu Lingxiao, had the cultivation of 6th level energy refinement, but could break through to 7th level energy refinement at any time. According to Hong Lian, it wasn't necessary for Lu Lingxiao to advance his realm so quickly. Gradual breakthroughs over time, slowly grinding, could provide more accumulations and be more solid. Moreover, progressing too quickly in the early stages of cultivation without sufficient mental tempering could lead to mental imbalance when encountering any bottleneck in the later stages. Many geniuses experienced smooth sailing in the early stages of their cultivation, as effortless as eating and drinking, which led to a complete downturn when they encountered a bottleneck later on. As for his daughter Lu Lingyi, she was much behind, only at 4th level energy refinement. On one hand, Lu Lingyi started her cultivation late. Additionally, this daughter was somewhat playful and interested in everything, resulting in her learning slowly. After attending to the matters of his children, Lu Chongsheng asked his wife Lu Miaoyun whether there were any significant events in the past 6 months at home. A moment later, he heard news that some time ago, the ancestor of the Jin family led people to Huji Ridge. Huji Ridge, Lu Chongsheng was aware of this family force. It belonged to an old, prominent family. Although they did not have a false core immortal presiding. But overtly, the family had 5 foundation establishment cultivators, with the elder ancestor being a foundation establishment late-stage great cultivator. Upon brief inquiry, Lu Chongsheng learned that the Jin family's visit wasn't to take down Huji Ridge. It was due to conflicts between the two families, and they went to demand an explanation. However, Lu Chongsheng speculated that, aside from wanting to ask for an explanation, the ancestor of the Jin family's visit was likely also to establish dominance. Previously, Jin Zan clashed with me not just to probe, but also to use the opportunity to assert their power. The outcome wasn't only unsuccessful but also led to a significant loss in the family's face, so naturally, they would want to regain face by other means. This old and established foundation establishment family, Huji Ridge, has always been at odds with the Jin family, and not far apart, so it makes sense for the Jin family to assert dominance over them now. Lu Changsheng's eyes narrowed slightly as he pondered in his heart. In the cultivation world, family forces were very particular about their reputation. Just like in the past, when the second-generation elder of the Su family was killed and the elder ancestor of the Su family could not find the murderer, he went directly to the 5 Elements royal family to assert power and deter other forces. Because when such incidents happened, if there was no response, the outside world would think your family power had declined, becoming weak and vulnerable. Going forward, the family's businesses, marketplace transactions, vassal families, even visiting noble servants, and others would all be impacted. This is an opportunity, Lu Changsheng's mind stirred. He had always wanted to ambush the ancestor of the Jin family or Jin Zan, to prevent the Jin family from causing trouble during his breakthrough to core formation. Now that the ancestor of the Jin family had left their clan and was at Huji Ridge, it was a good opportunity for him to take action. As long as he killed the ancestor of the Jin family, Golden Dragon Ridge would return to the previous deadlock, allowing for stable development. This was precisely the situation Lu Chongsheng needed. Moreover, once the matters regarding the Jin family were settled, he could leave without worry to head to the Myriad Beasts mountain range to sever the spiritual vein origin, thus charging towards core formation. Without delay, Lu Chongsheng left by Lake Mountain for Huji Ridge in disguise. Huji Ridge. The original name of this mountain ridge was no longer known to people. As the Hu family took up residence, gradually, it became known as Huji Ridge. At this moment, boom boom boom. The Hu family's great formation was in operation, and the entire family spirit land was enveloped in a red glow, as if a giant red python was coiling around. The ancestor of the Jin family along with 2 foundation establishment cultivators and more than 20 energy refinement late-stage cultivators formed a formation and launched attacks on Huji Ridge. Techniques bombarded the great formation protecting Huji Ridge, making a rumbling noise that threw the surrounding nature's spiritual energy into chaos. Facing such an offensive, Huji Ridge was merely defending without anyone coming forward. If anyone had cultivated the pupil skill and observed carefully, they could see through the obscure mist of Huji Ridge's family great formation and notice atop a mountain peak, nature's spiritual energy was converging, forming a small-scale spiritual energy vortex. Indicating that someone within Huji Ridge was at the final stage of breaking through to foundation establishment right then. Chapter 1101, NAL Cultivation, Annihilating the Ancestor of Jin Family. _4 Chapter 1101, 387, The Final Cultivation, Annihilating the Ancestor of Jin Family. _4 Damn it, the Jin family is truly overbearing. Not long ago when Lu Changsheng's son made a breakthrough to foundation establishment, the Jin family didn't lay a hand on him. Now when our Hu family's youngster breaks through to foundation establishment, they resort to such measures. A foundation establishment cultivator from the Hu family looked at the cultivators from the Jin family outside with a face full of frustration and said, The Huji Ridge of the Hu family, as a heritage that has been passed down for hundreds of years. Even when they faced the Jin family in the past, though they were not a match, they were never fearful. But now to be bullied by the Jin family to this extent is extraordinarily frustrating. Especially the way the Jin family has acted, it seems as if they think our Hu family is easy to bully, even more so than the newly rising Blue Lake Mountain Lu family. That old ghost from the Jin family is so brazen to come to our Huji Ridge, isn't he afraid that someone will disturb his Golden Dragon Ridge? Prepare the Great Formation. Once Fei Guang completes the breakthrough, well, give the old ghost from the Jin family a lesson. Two Foundation establishment cultivators from the Hu family said indignantly, preparing to make the Jin family patriarch pay the price after the family's breakthrough is complete, to show that the Hu family is not so easily bullied. Just then, they suddenly looked up and saw two figures, a man and a woman, appear. The man appeared to be in his 30s or 40s, tall and sturdy, towering above the average person by 2 to 3 heads, with a leopard's head and ringed eyes, his face covered in twisted whiskers, resembling an iron tower, exuding an oppressive aura full of strength. The girl looked to be 17 or 18, with a delicate and pure face, pretty as a picture and pitiable, but there was a seductive charm about her. This young girl with her face downcast, obediently stood beside the large man, making their stature and appearance a stark contrast. Who is this person? An accomplice of the Jin family? No, this girl is the renegade from the Huan sect, the wanted heretic cultivator Hua Zi. What, a heretic cultivator? Some from the Hu family recognized the delicate young girl among the man and the woman. What are you looking at, old fogey? At this moment, the burly man noticed the ancestor of the Jin family and others looking at them and coldly shouted. In his words, an aura similar to that of a third-rank demon beast spread from his body, accompanied by rolling black demonic evil chi. Demon cultivator. Both the Jin family and Hu family cultivators were shocked at this sight. Daoist. The ancestor of the Jin family was greatly alarmed and hurriedly shouted, bringing out his magical treasures. However, in that instant, a nascent soul divine sense shot towards him, like a silver needle piercing towards his sea of consciousness. But in his sea of consciousness, there was a small purple bell, gently swaying and guarding it. Yet in this lightning-fast moment, a seductive fragrance also entered his nostrils, dulling his mind and causing the scene before his eyes to change. Ding-ling-ding, suddenly, the small purple bell in the ancestor of the Jin family's sea of consciousness began to sway loudly, alerting his mental spirit and making him aware that this was a charm illusion technique. However, the gap in their divine senses was too vast. Even with this exotic treasure for divine sense, he still felt groggy and barely managed to struggle free. But before he could struggle out of the charm illusion technique, a figure resembling a black iron tower with rolling black evil chi and exuding a terrifying powerful aura, like a demon beast, appeared in front of him. Boom! A punch was thrown, overwhelmingly powerful, directly blasting the body of the ancestor of the Jin family into blood and gore. Silence. A deathly silence. Everyone stared, aghast at the sight of the ancestor of the Jin family, who was now blown to pieces, shrouded in a mist of blood. No one could have anticipated that two cultivators would suddenly appear, then with a single punch, kill the ancestor of the Jin family. Keep in mind, this was a false core patriarch, a high and mighty true pill master. But now, he has been killed by a single punch. This. Ancestor. Why? Why did you kill our family patriarch? Some of the Jin family cultivators were pale with terror, quivering, afraid to speak out loud. But others, in grief, shouted at the burly man with trembling voices. His gaze made me uncomfortable. The burly man's voice was rough and domineering as he sneered. He, daring to look at this girl more, isn't it seeking death? The delicate girl beside him giggled, her voice coquettishly seductive. While speaking, she collected the storage ring, magical treasures, and core of the Jin family patriarch. If y'all want to live, hand over your storage bags. The young girl said to the Jin family members in front of her, her voice sweet, soul-stirring. But this enchanting and tempting voice made all the Jin family cultivators tremble, daring not to say more and could only obediently hand over their storage bags. By saving you all, it's not too much to ask for remuneration, right? At this time, the burly man suddenly turned his head to look at the cultivators in Wuxia Ridge, sneering. Senior, please wait a moment, we will prepare it right away. A foundation establishment cultivator from the Hu family heard this and went weak at the knees, shakily saying. Then he immediately hurried to the family treasure vault to fetch the spirit stones and various heavenly and earthly treasures. Although their family great formation could protect them and hold off against a nascent soul cultivator for quite some time, the sheer terrifying might of the burly man's punch that killed the Jin family patriarch was too shocking, too frightening, and they dared not gamble. Moreover, through the actions of the burly man, he guessed the identity of the person. The nascent soul-body cultivator who was with the Huan sect renegade Huazi. Moments later, a foundation establishment returned, passing several storage bags through the family great formation. Senior, these are all the resources from our family treasury already, he said with a fawning face, his voice somewhat trembling. After receiving the storage bags, the burly man did not say another word, disappearing without a trace in a few breaths. Chapter 1102, Small Gains, the Jin Family's Dumbfounded. Chapter 1102, Chapter 388, Small Gains, the Jin Family's Dumbfounded. The burly man and the delicate young girl left Wuxia Ridge and entered the 9th heavenly gang wind layer directly. Hoo, the strong wind was fierce, and the howling ghost-like gang wind violently pressed and struck the two of them. Buzz! Beneath the burly man's feet, a star disk appeared, flowing with dazzling starlight, enveloping him and the young girl within. Subsequently, the man's bones crackled, and his face and stature changed instantly, transforming into a handsome and elegant young man with a tall and slender figure. This young man was naturally Lu Changsheng. The delicate young girl beside him was a disguise transformed by the Thousand Faces puppet fox. Initially, when Lu Changsheng planned to make a move on the Jin family, he had prepared a comprehensive plan. Disguising as a heretic cultivator wanted by the Huan sect and the Heavenly Sword sect. Thus, for the move on the ancestor of the Jin family, just as previously planned, he disguised himself as 2 heretic cultivators. Unfortunately, I haven't yet refined the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus into a void treasure, otherwise, through the effect of coordinating all techniques with the Yin-Yang Creation Classic, transforming cultivation and magical power into the corresponding demonic cultivation techniques would have been more realistic. However, having the 3rd-rank demonic evil talisman will do for now. It's just a few foundation establishment cultivators, they likely won't detect any flaws. Lu Changsheng let his mana flow, dispersing the remaining demonic evil qi around his body. After checking to make sure there were no problems, he cleaned up his gains in the 9th heavenly gang wind layer, clearing any suspicious items from the storage ring of the ancestor of the Jin family. At the same time, he checked the rewards provided by the Hu family to ensure there were no tricks involved. Wuxia Ridge, outside the mountain gate. The monk of the Jin family watched Lu Changsheng and the Thousand Faces puppet fox leave before they dared to move. If not for the blood-muddied corpse of their own ancestor right before their eyes, they'd think it was just an illusion. Go, retreat quickly. A foundation establishment cultivator of the Jin family immediately transmitted his voice, instructing everyone to quickly flee from Wuxia Ridge. With the ancestor dead, they were utterly no match for the cultivators of the Hu family. Moreover, with such occurrences, they fear encountering any further mishaps. Want to leave? It's not that simple. Do you think you can come and go from Hu family as you please? A foundation establishment cultivator of the Hu family saw this and immediately shouted loudly. Now that the Jin family ancestor was dead, they naturally had no fear of the Jin family cultivators outside. Even if they could not keep the 2 foundation establishment cultivators of the Jin family, they could still kill many of the Jin family's late-stage energy refining cultivators. For any family, those in the late stage of energy refinement form a core force. Hurry up, well, cover the rear. The two foundation establishment cultivators of the Jin family exchanged glances, ordering the other energy refining cultivators to flee quickly. But earlier, they had all passed their storage bags to the Thousand Faces puppet fox. Without a spirit boat or flying artifact, they could only use the wind control skill to escape, which was slow. Meanwhile, Golden Dragon Ridge, Jin family ancestral hall. Bang! The old guardian of the ancestral hall heard a crisp sound inside the hall, and suddenly got a shock. Apart from a few from the direct lineage core, only foundation establishment cultivators were qualified to possess a life-bound plaque. This sound was the sound of a life-bound plaque shattering, indicating a core member of the family had encountered an accident. He quickly walked into the hall. In the quiet hall, the lights were bright. The old man saw the shattered jade plaque at the top of the high platform, and as if struck by lightning, his voice trembling loudly said, "This is impossible." This jade plaque was the life-bound plaque of their ancestor of the Jin family. Their ancestor of the Jin family was a true pill master, a highly respected figure. How could he suddenly perish? No, this is impossible, absolutely impossible. With a crazed expression, the old man stared in disbelief at the life-bound plaque in front of him and then stepped forward to hold the jade plaque. The warm jade plaque was now cold and shattered, just like his heart. He knew, his own ancestor truly had fallen. The ancestor only went to Wuxia Ridge. How could an accident happen? With cloudy, tear-filled eyes, the old man muttered. He didn't think much, and hurriedly notified the patriarch and the great elder. Now that the ancestor had fallen, showing that something had happened at Wuxia Ridge, the family must urgently discuss countermeasures. Great elder, it's bad. Jin Zan saw the patriarch of the Jin family arriving with an anxious expression. His face darkened, and he spoke, "During major events, one needs to stay calm. What happened?" "Great elder, the ancestor, he has fallen." The patriarch of the Jin family said with profound sorrow and panic. What? Jin Zan, hearing this, was violently shocked. Then his eyes shot forth two chilling beams, looking at the patriarch of the Jin family incredulously and said, "What did you say?" "Great elder, the ancestor has fallen," the patriarch of the Jin family, with red eyes, said. He, too, was in disbelief when hearing this news, and rushed to the ancestral hall to verify. After confirming the shattering of their ancestor's soul plate, he dared to report to Jin Zan, who was in closed-door cultivation. After all, the great elder had just recovered from injuries and was focusing on cultivation. If he heard this news, it was feared that it would agitate his blood and affect his cultivation. How could this happen? How could the ancestor fall? What is going on? Jin Zan stared deathly at the patriarch of the Jin family, his eyes red, his presence intimidating as he spoke. The patriarch of the Jin family, under the pressure of Jin Zan's false core, felt as if a mountain was pressing down on him, making it hard to breathe, and said with a bitter face, "We don't know either. Not long ago, when the young master of Hu family was making the foundation establishment, the ancestor took Wuxia Ridge. Hu family is just a foundation establishment family. Their ancestor was once defeated by me. How could he kill our ancestor? It's absolutely impossible for the ancestor to die at Wuxia Ridge." Jin Zan didn't let the patriarch of Jin family finish and directly spoke. Though the Hu family is an established foundation establishment family with some secret techniques, they definitely do not have the means to kill a false core immortal. Chapter 1103, A Small Gain, the Jin Family's Dumbfoundedness. Chapter 1103, Chapter 388, A Small Gain, the Jin Family's Dumbfoundedness. Furthermore, our family patriarch had broken through to the false core stage 100 years ago, and his life-bound spiritual artifact had long since been promoted to a magic treasure. Having a magic treasure makes a true pill master with a false core far more powerful than those without one. Therefore, there is no way for the Hu family to have the ability to kill our family patriarch. I will go to Wuxia Ridge now and see what's going on. Jin Zan did not continue to ponder, he immediately spoke up, preparing to investigate the truth. The great elder must not go, now that an accident has befallen the patriarch. If there is any danger at Wuxia Ridge, the patriarch of the Jin family hurriedly said. His own patriarch had inexplicably perished abroad. Jin Zan, the false core patriarch, must absolutely not encounter any mishaps. If Jin Zan were to have an accident as well, without a true pill master with a false core in command, their Jin family would thoroughly start to decline. Upon hearing this, Jin Zan's heart suddenly trembled. He used to act overbearingly in the past, and a large reason was that he had the support of the ancestor of the Jin family. Now that the ancestor had fallen, and he himself had become the family patriarch, the sole mainstay, his actions could no longer be as reckless as before. Otherwise, if he encountered any accident, the entire Jin family would collapse like a house of cards. Fine, send someone immediately to investigate. After a long silence, Jin Zan said heavily. A nameless panic rose in his heart. Ninth Heavenly Gang Wind Layer. Lu Chongqing stood firm atop the starlight plate, having sorted through the storage ring of the ancestor of the Jin family, the storage bag of the monk of the Jin family, as well as the rewards from the Hu family's cultivator. The haul this time cannot be said to be very substantial. Aside from his false core, life-bound magic treasure, only a small clock, an exotic treasure sensitive to divine sense, was valuable. The total value of the magic artifacts, spirit stones, and heavenly and earthly treasures inside the storage ring was not high, amounting to roughly 34,000 spirit stones. However, the combined total of the other Jin family monk storage bags was not bad, worth about 56,000 spirit stones. As for the Hu family's reward, Lu Chongqing roughly estimated it to be also around 56,000 spirit stones. No wonder so many cultivators, those at the foundation establishment and even core formation stages, would go on to become robber cultivators, heretic cultivators. The money really does come quickly, Lu Chongqing remarked out loud. This amount of spirit stones was not much. But from the time he left home to resolving the battle, it hadn't even been a day. This efficiency of money-making simply outdoes being a talisman master, alchemist, or array master. Sometimes it's better to be a heretic cultivator, acting without concerns, killing without the need for reason. Unlike me on a regular day, as the family patriarch, with hundreds of liabilities in the family, everything I do has to be considered carefully, looking before and after. Lu Chongqing shook his head, knowing that such activities could not see the light of day, and he should avoid them as much as possible. Otherwise, it's inevitable to have wet shoes if one often walks beside the river. After destroying and clearing all the suspicious items in the storage bag, Lu Chongqing did not continue to linger, and quietly returned to Bai Lake Mountain. Throughout the trip, he was extremely cautious and was not worried about being traced back to him. But an idea surged in Lu Changsheng's heart. With such an incident having occurred, the Jin family and the Hu family will definitely report it to the Qingyun sect's enforcement hall. And the master of the enforcement hall is Kaiyun True Immortal, who has a friendship with him akin to Guan and Bao. If the other party investigates and it leads to him, would he cover up for him? After Lu Chongqing quietly returned to Bai Lake Mountain, he acted as if nothing had happened. Meanwhile, at the same time, in Golden Dragon Ridge, the Jin family monks who went to Wuxia Ridge had also returned to the family. Had it not been for the Jin family's timely deployment of someone to check the situation, this time, the Jin family could have nearly been wiped out. Nonetheless, even so, 2 foundation establishment cultivators of the Jin family were seriously injured, and more than half of the 20 or so cultivators in the late stage of energy refinement died. This loss was nothing short of tragic. Considering the death of the ancestor of the Jin family, this trip could be said to have severely damaged the vitality of the Jin family. With no several decades, they would not be able to recover at all. You're saying the murderer is the wanted heretic cultivator, the Huan Yin sect's traitor Hua Zi, and an unnamed body cultivator? With a gloomy face, Jin Zan looked at the two Foundation establishment cultivators in front of him and asked hoarsely. Yes, Great Elder. The two Foundation establishment cultivators responded with a bitter expression and hoarse voices, recounting the events that took place. To be killed with just one punch? How is that possible? Upon hearing this, Jin Zan's eyes bulged, his face filled with horror, disbelieving. He had already come to terms with the reality of his patriarch being killed. But now, to learn that his own patriarch was killed with a single punch, without any chance to fight back, he couldn't believe it. It must have been Hua Zi from Huan Yin's sect who used a charm illusion technique on the patriarch, disrupting and affecting his mental spirit, which allowed the body cultivator to take advantage of the gap to strike and kill the patriarch with a single punch. One Foundation establishment cultivator offered his explanation. As a Foundation establishment cultivator, he could barely discern some rationale. The fact that their patriarch did not use his magic treasure when facing the burly man's aggression indicated he was distracted. And the Huan Yin sect's cultivation techniques specialize in bewitching techniques and illusion techniques, which are hard to guard against. So he guessed that their patriarch might have been unsuspectingly caught off guard. Why would these two people target the patriarch? Our Jin family has never offended them, and we've never had any dealings with Huan Yin's sect. The patriarch of the Jin family said with clenched fists, his eyes red, his face full of stifled injustice. We don't know either, the two of them appeared suddenly. At the time, Ming asked them why they killed the patriarch, and that heretic cultivator said, the patriarch's gaze made him uncomfortable, the two Foundation establishment cultivators said with a lifeless look, somewhat dazedly. Even after so much time passing, even after going through a life-and-death escape, recalling that situation, the images, it still felt like a dream, with a sense of unreal absurdity. The gaze displeased him, Jin Zan's face turned dark and ugly, veins throbbing on his forehead. His hands were clasped tightly together, and due to the force, his slightly sharp nails pierced deeply into the palm, causing bouts of piercing pain. Chapter 1104, A Small Gain, The Jin Family's Dumbfoundedness. Chapter 1104, Chapter 388, A Small Gain, The Jin Family's Dumbfoundedness. Displeased by a glance, thus a punch took the life of the family patriarch. What a ridiculous and laughable reason. Yet, from the absurdity, he sensed a hint of reality, the cruelty of the cultivation world. Perhaps, to the other party, killing the family patriarch was as mundane as himself routinely killing a few energy-refining cultivators or Foundation establishment cultivators. Not reaching core formation, forever ants, Jin Zan's face betrayed a deep sense of fear and powerlessness. Indeed, becoming a false core immortal was like stepping into the threshold of the high ranks, becoming a notable figure. Yet, viewed through the lens of the entire cultivation world, in the eyes of a true nascent soul immortal, a false core was just an insignificant character, not even worthy of the title nascent soul immortal. The slightest carelessness could lead to being killed, with both body and Dao perishing. The death of the ancestor of the Jin family sent shivers down Jin Zan's spine, dousing the flames of his ambition to become a false core immortal. He began to fear the cultivation world more, no longer merely focused on his own territory. Good thing it wasn't my Jin family that provoked those two individuals. At this moment, Jin Zan actually felt a sense of relief. Relieved that it wasn't his family that had provoked these two heretic cultivators. Otherwise, attracting the attention of such heretic cultivators meant complete doom for his family. Great Elder, these two are wanted robber cultivators, should we report to the Qingyun sect? At this time, Jin Zan, the patriarch of the Jin family, looked towards Jin Zan while speaking with a bitter tone. The Qingyun sect had regulations. Affiliated families who encounter demon cultivators, robber cultivators, or fugitives must report immediately. But these two heretic cultivators were too domineering. He couldn't help but fear. If he reported to the Qingyun sect and the cultivators found out, would they trouble his own family? Jin Zan's heart trembled violently, and it took him a long time to finally speak. Report. they dared not offend these two heretic cultivators, nor dare they offend the Qingyun sect. If they didn't proactively report and later the Qingyun sect laid blame, as the family patriarch, he couldn't escape responsibility. Furthermore, these two heretic cultivators had been wanted for decades. As long as it wasn't the Qingyun sect who actually found the pair and chased them, only to have them escape, it shouldn't bring trouble to his family. Several days later, news of the Jin family ancestors' death spread rapidly throughout the entire Qingyun region, like wildfire scorching the plains. This news was shocking, like a boulder smashing into a still lake, creating great ripples. A false core immortal was a revered being to most cultivators and family forces. But now, one of the 6 false core families of the Qingyun region, the Jinlong Ridge Jin family's false core patriarch, had been slain by a heretic cultivator in one fell swoop. Many family patriarchs were shaken upon hearing this news, and panic ensued. They warned their kin to stay indoors during this troubled time, waiting for the storm to pass. Meanwhile, families holding grudges against the Jinlong Ridge took delight in clapping their hands in approval. They even regretted that Jin Zan had not been killed alongside. Not long after, Lu Chongsheng heard of this from his wife, Lu Miaoyun. Such matters had to be reported to the Qingyun sect. Moreover, on that day, many cultivators from the Hu family witnessed the event. The commotion was significant, making it impossible to keep completely hidden. However, seeing how unified the rumors were, blaming the heretic cultivators for the deed, Lu Chongsheng nodded slightly. He knew his actions had been perfect. Everyone pointed to the 2 wanted heretic cultivators for the killing, none suspecting his family. "Husband, you should also be more careful when you go out." In a tender voice, Lu Miaoyun spoke to Lu Chongsheng. She knew that her husband went out from time to time. Now, hearing this news, she couldn't help but worry. "Hee, Yuner, don't worry." Seeing the concern in his wife's eyes, Lu Chongsheng chuckled, pulled her into his embrace, and whispered in her delicate ear, "Let me tell you a secret." He was not one to keep secrets, especially from his wife. And he was keen to share some matters with her. Lu Miaoyun was startled upon hearing this. Then her eyes widened in astonishment as she stared at her husband. She had already learned from Lu Miaohuan that her husband was capable of slaying a false core immortal. But she never imagined that the Jin family patriarch had been killed by her husband. After all, according to the rumors, it was a blow that resulted in instant death. The Jin family's 2 false core immortals, if allowed to continue growing, would surely move against our family. And since I plan to journey out soon, I thought to take out one false core immortal of the Jin family in advance to avoid bringing trouble to our family. Lu Chongsheng smiled as he spoke while looking at his wife's expression. Regarding the family's spiritual vein and the preparations for assault on core formation, he could hide it from others, but definitely not from his wife at home. And on this matter, he had no intention of concealing it. Lu Miaoyun understood the reasoning, nodded slightly, and asked with concern, "Where does my husband plan to go?" "To the Myriad Beasts mountain range. Our family's spirit vein is somewhat insufficient, and in a few years, I plan to make a push for core formation, so I intend to search the Myriad Beasts mountain range for some spirit vein origins," Lu Chongsheng spoke frankly. He was planning to journey with Ling Zixiao to the Myriad Beasts mountain range after a while. Husband is going to attempt core formation. Lu Miaoyun's mouth dropped open, her beautiful eyes darting around. Even the news of the Jin family patriarch's death at the hands of her husband was less surprising. After all, core formation stage, the legendary nascent soul immortals. Could it be that her husband had already become so powerful? Lu Miaoyun gazed at Lu Chongsheng, lost in thought. Once I finish dealing with the spiritual vein, should be ready to attempt core formation." Lu Chongsheng, seeing his wife's eyes filled with admiration and affection, pinched her cheek and nodded gently in affirmation. "But doesn't making a push for core formation require a third-order spirit vein? I'm afraid it won't be easy for my husband to upgrade our family's spirit vein to third order, will it?" Lu Miaoyun spoke up, voicing her concerns, and I've heard that the Myriad Beasts mountain range is extremely dangerous. Hehe, I have a secret technique. Without a third order, advancing our home spirit vein to a top-tier second rank should suffice. So, this trip won't be too dangerous. Lu Chongsheng said with a smile, then went on to inform Ling Zixiao, Lu Miaoge, and the others. Asking what preparations needed to be made in anticipation, he would journey with Ling Zixiao when the time came. After all, capturing the spiritual vein origin from the Myriad Beasts mountain range was set to take quite some time. Chapter 1105, Thunder Fire Mysterious Lotus, Crazy Harvest. Chapter 1105, Chapter 389, Thunder Fire Mysterious Lotus, Crazy Harvest. Lu Chongsheng, about to head to the Myriad Beasts mountain range, made arrangements for all the family affairs in advance. There was no need for him to worry about Bai Lake Mountain, where his son Lu Pingon held fort at White Tiger Mountain. But someone still needed to stay at Flower Fruit Mountain to look after it. After all, with so many fruit trees on Flower Fruit Mountain, it would be a great loss if robber cultivators, heretic cultivators, or any hostile forces were to destroy them all. He had already thought it through before and decided to station his son Lu Qingxian at Flower Fruit Mountain. Lu Chongsheng found his son Lu Qingxian and asked, "Qingxian, is your realm stable now?" "Father, my cultivation level has been consolidated. I wanted to notify you earlier, but you were in closed-door cultivation," Lu Qingxian replied respectfully. "Good, this is a gift I've prepared for you, known as the Divine Power Fruit. Upon consumption, you'll gain sudden enlightenment of a divine skill that suits you." Lu Chongsheng nodded and produced a fruit in his hand, resembling golden glass, covered in 7-colored Dao patterns. He had intended to give this divine power fruit to Lu Qingxian for quite some time. However, due to his dual cultivation matter with Yun Wanshang, he had not been home recently. Divine power fruit? Consuming it can lead to sudden enlightenment of a divine skill. Lu Qingxian exclaimed with a shock in his heart. Divine skills could only be cultivated by nascent soul immortals. Many false core immortals might not even be able to master a divine skill. Could his father actually be giving him such a precious spirit fruit as a gift? He felt somewhat overwhelmed at the moment. Go ahead and consume it. Let's see what divine skill you will come to understand, Lu Chongsheng said with a smile. The divine skill gained from consuming the divine power fruit was related to the cultivation method, akin to an extension of the technique. Therefore, Lu Chongsheng also didn't know what divine skill Lu Qingxian would perceive. It could be a lethal divine skill, a defensive divine skill, an escape technique, or an augmenting divine skill. "Thank you, Father." Lu Qingxian swallowed his saliva, bowed politely, and carefully took the golden fruit. He then sat cross-legged, seriously consuming the fruit in his hand. The fruit melted upon entering his mouth, turning into a light golden juice, flowing into his belly. After a moment, Lu Qingxian's forehead gleamed with a golden luster, as if the essence of the great Tao circulated within, and the Thunder Fire 9 Arts cultivation method began to operate automatically. Dark red flames emanated from his body, accompanied by strands of lightning arcs, raging violently, intensely fierce and powerful. At this instant, Lu Qingxian entered a mysterious state. The cultivation method operated over and over again, with lightning and fire rising and spreading all over his body. This Thunder Fire 9 Arts is quite good, it's a pity it's just a side door level skill. Otherwise, this thunder and fire synergistic technique would be more suitable for the dragon roar physique than the vermilion bird sky scorching art, Lu Chongsheng mused as he looked at the technique. His son Lu Lingxiao practiced the vermilion bird sky scorching art. But in his view, this domineering thunder and fire synergistic technique would be more suitable for Lu Lingxiao. Just like that, time passed bit by bit. 3 days later, Lu Qingxian abruptly opened his eyes, his pupils filled with thunder flames, radiating brilliant and blazing light. "Father." Lu Qingxian, looking at his father before him, showed a face full of joy. Divine skill. He had actually comprehended a divine skill. Although it was only a pseudo-divine ability, it was still a divine skill. What divine skill have you realized? Lu Chongsheng asked with a smile. Father, the divine skill I've comprehended is named Thunder Fire Mysterious Lotus, Lu Qingxian reported respectfully. Thunder Fire Mysterious Lotus? Show it to me, Lu Chongsheng raised an eyebrow and said with a smile, wanting to see the effect and power of this pseudo-divine ability. Yes. Lu Qingxian took a deep breath, stretched out his hands, and the mana from his Qi ocean core surged tumultuously. Boom! A clap of thunder sounded in the void, and on his left hand, a terrifyingly violent purple lightning arc surged. Above his right hand, a fiercely intense and burning red flame rose and spread. Under Lu Changsheng's gaze, Lu Qingxian slowly brought together the thunder and fire. Hum hum hum, as soon as the thunder and flame touched, they instantly burst with terrifying energy, causing the void to slightly distort as if on the verge of exploding. However, Lu Qingxian continuously formed seals with his hands, causing the two wild and domineering energies to distinctly separate yet closely intertwine, slowly merging, constantly creating, and condensing into a palm-sized dark red lotus with roaming lightning arcs. Thunder Fire Mysterious Lotus. Lu Chongsheng examined the fire lotus before him, stroked his chin, and felt it was somewhat similar to his own Thunder Gang Dragon Flame. Pfft! He gently lifted his palm, and a clump of purple and red flame spread. Then he wrapped the dark red lotus in Lu Qingxian's hands. It does indeed have a similar essence to my Thunder Gang Dragon Flame. The power is decent too, almost comparable to the full blow of a Foundation Establishment 8-level cultivator. It's just that the casting time is a bit slow and too obvious. Lu Chongsheng squinted his eyes, feeling the power of this pseudo-divine ability. Meanwhile, Lu Qingxian next to him was stunned. With a confused face, he looked at his father. What was going on? Shouldn't his divine skill have exploded out of control almost immediately? How could it be toyed with in his father's hand like a plaything? And what about his father's flames? Why did they look slightly similar to his own Thunder Fire Mysterious Lotus? Could it be that his father also consumed a divine power fruit? But shouldn't the divine skill realized from the divine power fruit be based on the practiced cultivation method? Full of confusion, Lu Qingxian stood perplexed. Not bad, comparable to the full blow of a Foundation Establishment 7th or 8th level cultivator, enough to deal with some Foundation Establishment pushovers. How much mana did you just consume? Lu Chongsheng looked at his son and asked. His son had just broken through to Foundation Establishment, and being able to wield such power with a divine skill was quite acceptable. Chapter 1106, Thunder Fire Mysterious Lotus, Crazy Harvest. Chapter 1106, Chapter 389, Thunder Fire Mysterious Lotus, Crazy Harvest. If this were known in the outside world, that a Foundation Establishment cultivator had grasped divine skills, it would surely cause others to gasp in astonishment. Such capabilities, even when considering the entire Jianghu country cultivation realm and the 4 great immortal sects, are as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns. Such a person should not be allowed to exist. But as the son of Lu Chongsheng, it can only be said to be not bad. Father, it consumed about 70% of my mana. If I were to go all out, I feel that all my mana would be drained, Lu Qingxian said in a daze. This divine skill is indeed powerful, but its consumption is also quite exaggerated. It made him realize that in a battle, he could only use it once. And it must end the fight, otherwise, he would put himself in a dangerous situation. Okay, not bad. You should practice it more frequently, otherwise, by the time your divine skills are ready, your opponent might have already escaped. Lu Chongsheng nodded, his fingers clenched, extinguishing the Thunder Fire Mysterious Lotus in his hand. The Thunder Gang Dragon Flame on his palm also dissipated, as if nothing had happened. This scene left Lu Qingxian profoundly shocked. His father said that his divine skill was comparable to the full strike of a Foundation Establishment late-stage cultivator. But such a supernatural technique was easily toyed with by his father. Doesn't that mean, my father's strength far surpasses that of a foundation establishment cultivator? Could it be, my father is a nascent soul immortal? When you are out and about, you need to hide your abilities a bit to avoid danger, Lu Chongqing said with a light smile, without explaining too much. He continued, in the following time, you will go to Flower Fruit Mountain to oversee it and focus on cultivation. Master this divine skill and the techniques of Thunder Fire 9 arts. If anything happens, simply send a message home. Because of family teachings, Lu family disciples at the early and middle stages of energy refinement don't usually spend time on technique. It is only in the later stages of energy refinement that they begin to spend time mastering techniques. For children like Lu Qingxian, who have decent talents, they would have mastered 3 to 5 techniques in the later stages of energy refinement. But this situation certainly cannot continue forever. After breaking through to foundation establishment, for the sake of combat power, one must master all the accompanying spells of the cultivation technique and become proficient in them. Yes, father. Lu Qingxian formally replied. He had previously guessed that his father would send him to oversee Flower Fruit Mountain. Initially, he was somewhat apprehensive, worried about not being able to manage the family. But now, having mastered a divine skill, he was filled with confidence. Confident that if a mid-stage foundation establishment cultivator attacked, he could, just like his elder brother Lu Pingan did in the past, repel a mid-stage foundation establishment cultivator with his initial stage foundation establishment powers. After settling Lu Qingxuan's matters, and making sure there was nothing urgent at home, Lu Chongqing, along with Ling Zixiao, set off for the Myriad Beasts mountain range. This time, he did not choose to travel by spiritual vessel. Instead, he directly controlled the starlight plate, holding Ling Zixiao's hand and soaring into the sky. From Bai Lake Mountain to Qingyun Market, one needs to wait for a spiritual vessel, then board the vessel to Azure Phoenix Immortal City, which wastes a lot of time going to and fro. The Myriad Beasts mountain range stretches across nearly half of the southern border of Jianghu country. As soon as they reached the Imperial Spirit Sects domain, they could enter the mountain range. So with the starlight plate, including rest times, it would take about a month to reach the Myriad Beasts mountain range. Is this the legendary Nine Heavens Gang Wind Layer? Above the Nine Heavens, Ling Zixiao's beautiful eyes were bright and clear, shining with starlight, observing a landscape she had never seen before, dreaming of reaching such a realm. Yes, this is the Nine Heavens Gang Wind Layer. With the help of this treasure, I can briefly travel through this layer of Gang Wind. Lu Chongqing stood on the star plate, holding Ling Zixiao's hand, and said with a light smile. I heard that many sun and moon essences, starlight, and heaven and earth spiritual materials condensed from meteors outside of heaven gather here. Even cultivators' magical treasures are sometimes lost in the Nine Heavens Gang Wind Layer due to various reasons. Ling Zixiao, wearing a lake blue palace dress, her hair pinned up high, with a diagonal jade delicate hairpin, had a dignified and graceful appearance. This is just the lower part of the Nine Heavens Gang Wind Layer. If you want to find sun and moon essence, starlight, and other heaven and earth spiritual materials, you probably need to go to the top layer. Lu Chongqing said so, not really expecting to find treasure. After all, the odds of finding treasure are like winning the lottery, akin to encountering fortuitous adventures mentioned in the legends. However, just after he finished speaking, he suddenly saw a huge fragment being battered within the dark gang winds in the distance. What's this? Capture it. Lu Chongqing frowned slightly, his sleeve stirred, and a swirling yin-yang energies rolled out, forming a large cloudy hand. The hand grasped, capturing the huge fragment amidst the wind, bringing it back to the star plate. Looking at it, it appears to be a fragment of a magical treasure. Lu Chongqing examined the black, scar-covered fragment in his hand, recognizing it as likely a part of a cauldron-type magical treasure. However, considering how badly the cauldron was damaged, the owner of the treasure must have died. Beside him, Ling Zixiao was also startled. Then, with a somewhat peculiar expression, she looked at Lu Changsheng, pursed her red lips lightly, and said with a faint smile, "Truly fitting for my lord, to find treasures as soon as we leave home. It's purely coincidental, and besides, a fragment of a magical treasure is hardly a treasure." Lu Changsheng knew Ling Zixiao had misunderstood and replied with a smile. Picking up a treasure as soon as they left home was a good omen to him, and he was in a relatively good mood. However, the appearance of such a fragment made him suspect that there might be cultivators fighting in the Nine Heavens Gang Wind ahead, making him more cautious. And so, a month later, the two arrived at the outskirts of the Myriad Beasts mountain range. Lu Changsheng found a place to restore his mana to its peak state before steering the spirit boat, carrying Ling Zixiao into the Myriad Beasts mountain range. Coming to the Myriad Beasts mountain range, he naturally did his homework. He knew that a cultivator's mana was like a torch in the night for the demon beasts. Chapter 1107, Thunder Fire Mysterious Lotus, Crazy Harvest. Chapter 1107, Chapter 389, Thunder Fire Mysterious Lotus, Crazy Harvest. Magic aura weakened, possibly attacked by demon beasts. Magic aura strengthened, would be considered as provocation by demon beasts. And in Myriad Beasts mountain range, where demon beasts are everywhere, continuing to control the Starlight Plate not only consumes a lot of mana but also easily attracts the attention of third-rank demon kings, hence Lu Changsheng uses the spirit boat for travel. For now, he only uses the spirit boat in the outer areas of the mountain range. Once deeper inside, he would not use the spirit boat. Otherwise, encountering flocks of flying creatures would be troublesome. As the two of them entered the Myriad Beasts mountain range, they occasionally saw small groups of hunting cultivators. Since both Lu Changsheng and Ling Zixiao emitted the spiritual pressure of Foundation establishment cultivators, these cultivators would act as if they were facing a formidable enemy upon seeing them, fearing that they were robber cultivators. After all, within the Myriad Beasts mountain range, demon beasts are only a part of the dangers. Half of the cultivators do not die from demon beasts but from other cultivators. After Lu Changsheng went deeper into the mountain range for a few hundred miles and saw that the situation was manageable, he and Ling Zixiao descended to the ground and stowed away the spirit boat. "Zixiao, don't stray too far from me, and be careful," Lu Changsheng instructed Ling Zixiao. "Your consort understands." Ling Zixiao lightly smiled and softly responded. "Let's get to work." Lu Changsheng took out a seeking spirit mouse from the spiritual pet bag, letting it guide him toward where the geographical veins held denser spiritual energy, indicating the presence of a spirit vein. Although he had acquired the second-rank dragon seeking technique, he hadn't cultivated the two main methods of a dragon seeker, the Origin Spirit Divine Perception and Origin Spirit Pupillary Art, at all. Thus, he could not discern the spirit veins within the mountains and lands by himself. He had to rely on this seeking spirit mouse to indicate a general direction, then check by using the pupil skill. Squeak squeak squeak. The seeking spirit mouse quickly nodded. It had been well fed and comfortable for the past few months. Knowing that if it did not perform well, it would face hungry days again, it promptly began. Then, the two people and one mouse started searching for spirit veins in the mountain range. Several hours later, Lu Changsheng and Ling Zixiao arrived at the territory of a second-rank thunder rock leopard. Facing such a demon beast, Lu Changsheng directly killed it with a punch, then asked Ling Zixiao to lay a formation, while he used the Origin Spirit Pupillary Art to pinpoint the location of the spirit vein, and then began severing spiritual veins. This trip to Myriad Beasts mountain range, his equipment was very complete. Mountain opener shovel, vein locating compass, spirit sealing nail, mountain and river cauldron. Origin Spirit Intercept Vein Technique. Lu Changsheng looked at the minor spirit vein in front of him, skillfully integrating the spiritual vein origin into his mountain and river cauldron. Several days later, as the spirit vein dried up and vanished, the terrain began to collapse. Lu Changsheng saw this and quickly returned to the surface. "Lord, what happened?" Ling Zixiao, who was guarding outside, immediately showed concern. The changes in the terrain caused quite a stir and even affected her formation. It's nothing, the spirit vein affected the terrain, the noise might attract other demon beasts, let's go. Lu Chongqing explained and had Ling Zixiao pack up the array plate to change locations and let the seeking spirit mouse continue searching. And so, half a month passed by. Through these days of continuous searching, Lu Chongqing realized that most of the spirit veins in Myriad Beasts mountain range were scattered minor spirit veins, even micro-spirit veins. To find those larger second-rank spirit veins, he would need to go deeper. However, going deeper might encounter third-rank demon kings. Lu Chongqing still chose to be cautious and opted to bulldoze through second-order monster beasts here. Boom boom boom. That day, Lu Chongqing encountered a group of demon beasts. A second-rank late-stage wolf king, leading 4 second-rank demon wolves and nearly 100 first-grade demon wolves. If it weren't for Lu Changsheng's exceptional strength, a typical Foundation establishment peak cultivator might have perished here. This also underscored one of the most perilous aspects of Myriad Beasts mountain range. You never know how many demon beasts you will face. I should have brought the 9 Netherhound with me. Lu Chongqing looked at the corpses of the demon beasts around him and said somewhat regretfully. He had killed countless demon beasts along the way. Apart from monster cores or valuable materials like demon beast essence blood, most of the bones could only be abandoned. If he had the abyssal ghoul blossom or a 9 Netherhound, such waste would not have happened. However, this spirit vein should be quite substantial. Lu Chongqing surveyed the spirit vein using the origin spirit pupillary art. Having severed spirit veins over these days, he could judge the general condition of a spirit vein by the demon beast's territories. Although demon beasts do not have as high requirements for spirit veins as cultivators do, they also prefer to occupy good spirit veins. Like this wolf king leading such a large wolf pack, it indicates that the spirit vein is substantial. Is this Earth Fire Evil Chi? Lu Chongqing saw a crack in the depths of the Wolf King's cave, with hot evil chi emanating from it. Based on his understanding of the geographical veins from the dragon-seeking technique, Lu Chongqing guessed that deep within this Earth's core, there should be a vein of Earth Sha fire. This Earth Fire Evil Chi has an effect on tempering the body. This Wolf King could occupy this place and breed 4 second-rank demon wolves, probably because of this Earth Fire Evil Chi. Lu Chongqing thought to himself and without much hesitation, began to dig. As he dug deeper, there indeed was a vein of Earth Fire Evil Chi. This Earth Fire Sha vein, if transferred intact, could refine a Mana Foundation establishment spiritual object Earth Fire Gang Sha every 10 years. However, since him severing its origin, it's almost half-wasted. Lu Chongqing shook his head, somewhat regretful. If such an Earth Sha fire vein could be completely transferred back home and refined through formation every 10 years, it could refine a Gang Sha. This Gang Sha could be used to refine artifacts, enhancing the power of spiritual artifacts, or as a fire attribute technique's Foundation establishment spiritual object. But if I can find a few more of these Earth Sha fire veins, I could also nurture one at home. Chapter 1108, Thunder Fire Mysterious Lotus, Crazy Harvest. _4 Chapter 1108, Chapter 389, Thunder Fire Mysterious Lotus, Crazy Harvest. _4 Lu Chongqing thought to himself without hesitation, skillfully deploying the vein sealing compass, spirit sealing nail, and the mountain and river cauldron. Just as Lu Chongqing was intercepting a spirit vein, Ling Zixiao suddenly looked up and noticed 2 Foundation establishment mana auras swiftly approaching from the distance. Her expression turned vigilant as she prepared herself and turned to the 1,000 Faces puppet fox beside her, whispering, "Take action." At this moment, she had no idea whether the newcomers were friends or foes. But her husband was in the middle of intercepting a spirit vein, which was not to be disturbed. It was just bad luck for the incomers to stumble upon them. Within a few breaths, 3 Foundation establishment cultivators arrived in the valley. They looked at the wolf corpses strewn about with serious expressions. However, at the next moment, their consciousness blurred, and they were met with different illusions. Pu Ling Zixiao gestured an incantation, and sharp spikes, each a zhang tall, appeared from the ground, piercing through the three people's protective spiritual light and impaling their bodies. After doing this, Ling Zixiao's mana surged, and threads of flame aura enveloped her, forming the vague figure of a creature with the head of a beast and the body of a human, clothed in red scales, with fire serpents in its ears, and standing upon a fire dragon. This was the demon god of fire that she had cultivated through the 12 capital demon divine technique, collecting the intents of various demon gods and refining it with the dragon roar of yang energy within her body. Although this demon god was only an illusion, it already possessed a decent fighting power. The demon god stepped through the formation, incinerated the three corpses, and took their storage bags back into the formation with its mana, before transforming into a flame of mana that returned to Ling Zixiao's body. Days later, Lu Chongsheng had intercepted the earthly Sha fire vein, and the valley's earth veins began to collapse. Seeing the commotion, Ling Zixiao proficiently packed up the formation, and she and Lu Chongsheng continued their search for new spirit veins. Congratulations to the host for the birth of 700 descendants, you have earned one draw opportunity. On this day, just as Lu Chongsheng had slain a second-order large bear, a system prompt sounded in his mind. Only 700, Lu Chongsheng felt somewhat distracted and sentimentally. He didn't pay too much attention to it and went forward to break open the bear demon's skull, extracting the monster core. As a second-order spiritual slaughterer, he could roughly determine whether a demon beast had a monster core or not based on its size and bloodline grade. This trip to the Myriad Beasts mountain range had not only yielded the spirit vein origin. Constantly slaying demon beasts also brought him a considerable income. This made Lu Chongsheng reflect that it's no wonder so many people came to the Myriad Beasts mountain range to hunt for money. It indeed made good money. He decided that when he broke through to core formation, he would come to hunt for demon kings in the Myriad Beasts mountain range and also earn the money needed to craft magical treasures. Otherwise, with the current income and expenses of his household, relying solely on the goodwill of sponsors, he really had no money to craft magical treasures. Time flew swiftly, and before they knew it, Lu Chongsheng and Ling Zixiao had been in the Myriad Beasts mountain range for half a year. With the help of the seeking spirit mouse, it was quite simple for them to only look for spirit veins within the territories of second-order monster beasts. Throughout the process, although they encountered some ferocious beast groups and malicious cultivators, they were all effortlessly resolved. In the process, aside from the spirit vein origin and monster cores, Lu Chongsheng had gathered almost 10,000 spirit stones worth of heavenly and earthly treasures. On one hand, the Myriad Beasts mountain range indeed had an abundance of heavenly and earthly treasures. On the other hand, it also had to do with the demon beasts he had been hunting. After all, most of the demon beasts slain to find spirit veins were second-order great demons. Places where these great demons resided often had spirit flowers, spirit grass, or spiritual materials and/or stones. Speaking of or stones, Lu Chongsheng felt quite regretful. During this time, he saw 2 veins. However, personally mining these veins was too time-consuming and not worth the effort. Furthermore, mining in the Myriad Beasts mountain range was very dangerous, and at least a false core strength is needed as protection. Nevertheless, Lu Chongsheng had a stroke of good luck once, encountering Earth Essence spiritual milk in one of the Earth veins. For a Foundation establishment cultivator, this second-order Earth Essence spiritual milk was highly precious. Just 1 drop would restore a large amount of mana. Thus, for the past half-year, Ling Zixiao was continuously amazed by Lu Chongsheng's findings. She said that Lu Chongsheng was simply blessed with huge luck. The gains from this half-year were equivalent to the wealth that many Foundation establishment cultivators could not earn in their lifetimes. If the value of the spirit vein origin was taken into account, such income would even exceed that of many nascent soul immortals. This also made Lu Chongsheng realize that being a dragon seeker was truly profitable. If he was willing to sell the spirit vein origin, he could make a fortune. I have a few more mountain and river cauldrons, and since it's going so smoothly, I'll fill up these cauldrons too. In that case, in addition to cultivating the spirit veins of Mount Sumru Cave Heaven, I can also consider cultivating Lingsue Cliff spirit veins, or nurture a few first-order spirit veins at Bai Lake Mountain. Lu Chongsheng spoke out loud. The trip was smoother than he had expected, so he planned to fill every mountain and river cauldron he had prepared. By doing this, he not only could cultivate the spirit veins of Mount Sumru Cave Heaven to second-tier top level but also improve the spirit veins of Bai Lake Mountain slightly. Okay. Ling Zixiao, graceful and elegant, replied softly. Given Lu Changsheng's efficiency, she estimated that they could return within half a year at most. Chapter 1109, Zhou Tian Star Fighting Sword Embryo, Heavenly Fragrance Goo. Chapter 1109, Chapter 390, Zhou Tian Star Fighting Sword Embryo, Heavenly Fragrance Goo. A golden spirit boat carried a man and a woman. The man appeared to be in his 20s, with sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes, noble in appearance, wearing a white golden robe with an extraordinary bearing. The woman looked about 18 or 19, with a beautiful and graceful countenance that was both elegant and otherworldly, and wore a stunning rainbow feather garment, her beautiful eyes brimming with anticipation. Little Zhu, there's still a month's journey to go, don't rush. Lu Qingshan, seeing his sister's eager face as she just disembarked from the spiritual vessel in Qingyun Market, couldn't help but smile. Although he too missed home. But as a man who travels the world, anywhere can be home, so he was not as anxious as his sister. Emicham. Lu Qingzhu replied softly, sitting down on the spirit boat and speaking quietly, brother, do you think Qing Shi and Qing Xian will like the gifts we've prepared? Shouldn't Qing Song be able to use the leftover Foundation establishment spirit objects from before? She had prepared many gifts for her parents, brothers, and sisters on this trip back home as the elder sister. They'll definitely like them. You've put so much thought into this, they'll have to like it for my sake, even if they don't. Lu Qingshan, accustomed to ruffling his sister's hair, said casually with a smile, as for Qing Song, if he can't achieve Foundation establishment even with 4 Foundation establishment elixirs, he might as well bump into tofu and die. His sister, Lu Qingzhu, had only used 3 Foundation establishment elixirs to break through to Foundation establishment. If their younger brother, Lu Qingsong, couldn't break through with these 4 remaining elixirs, Lu Qingshan would be too ashamed to acknowledge him as his brother. It would be utterly embarrassing. Brother. Lu Qingzhu, who was used to her brother's casual and unfocused speech, rolled her eyes at him. Just then, the jade pendant at her waist suddenly emitted a warm glow. Lu Qingzhu was startled, then turned to her brother and said, brother, it seems like we have siblings nearby from our family. Oh. Hearing this, Lu Qingshan's brows lifted, and he smiled as he nodded in response to his sister's gaze. In that case, let's go and see. In a dense and lush jungle, ancient trees soared to the sky, verdantly thick. Lu Rui swiftly navigated through the air with a falling leaf artifact. She had chosen to venture out into the world many years ago because of an incident at White Tiger Mountain. 18 years had passed, and her cultivation had broken through from the 6th level of energy refinement to the 8th level. And recently, in a ruins cave mansion, she had an opportunity and broke through to 9th level energy refinement, planning to return home to cultivate peacefully and attempt Foundation establishment before the age of 60. However, for some reason, she was targeted soon after leaving the ruins. Since her substitute talisman had been used up long ago, and her only second-rank talisman was also used in the cave mansion of the ruins. Now, faced with the pursuit of 5 cultivators at energy refinement late stage, she could only flee for her life. I can't shake them off like this. Lu Rui looked back, her cold features becoming grim. She had struggled so much over the years to secure this opportunity and glimpse a hope for Foundation establishment. The thought of dying out here was unbearable. Just then, she noticed her identity token shine with a gentle luster, emitting an intangible aura that indicated a response from her siblings. She had activated the token simply out of desperation, playing a long shot. After all, very few siblings from her family ventured out. And the Jianghu country cultivation realm was so vast, it was improbable to encounter them by chance. I wonder which brother or sister it is, Lu Rui pondered in her heart. The siblings from her family who were out cultivating all had good cultivation, at least at the 6th level of energy refinement. And they all possessed talismans given by their father, which were enough to intimidate cultivators at energy refinement late stage. Swish swish swish, 5 figures were closing in on Lu Rui. Ladies and gentlemen, we have no grudge against each other, could you perhaps spare me a passage for life? Lu Rui faced these approaching figures, clutching a Luo umbrella artifact, and called out loudly. Spare you, of course we can, as long as you hand over the fortunes from the ruins. One of the figures spoke directly. Fortunes from the ruins? You may be mistaken, I'm just an ordinary cultivator, how could I possess such opportunities? Lu Rui still didn't understand why she had attracted such attention. Everyone who had explored the ruins with her had died there, logically, no one should know. Humph, since that's the case, you can go and die. A cultivator at the 9th level energy refinement brandished a flying dagger and lunged at Lu Rui. Clang! Lu Rui opened her Luo umbrella, which bloomed with glossy radiance to fend off the attack, but the falling leaf artifact beneath her almost lost balance, nearly causing her to fall. Facing such pursuit, she could only defend herself while continuing to flee. As for handing over the opportunity, it was clear in her heart that stopping would mean certain death. Just then, a golden spirit boat approached this place. Aboard the spirit boat stood a man and a woman, with the man looking down at the situation below and effortlessly producing a several feet long golden sword light with a flick of his finger. The sword light streaked through the air with extreme sharpness, swiftly piercing the foreheads of the 5 cultivators at energy refinement late stage, creating blood holes as they tumbled to the ground with a thud. Lu Rui, staring at the scene before her, was stunned and somewhat confused. What was going on? She looked up at the man and woman on the spirit boat, her eyes showing a tinge of bewilderment. Weren't these her own siblings coming to her aid? But when did she have such formidable brothers and sisters? And she had never seen them before. However, the woman did bear a resemblance to Auntie Miaoga, about 7 or 8 points similar. I am Lu Rui from Bihu Mountain. Greetings to both of you. Lu Rui cupped her hands in salute, nervously introducing herself. Rui sister? I am Qingzhu, Lu Qingzhu. Lu Qingzhu, with her garments fluttering, descended from the spirit boat, speaking with some joy. She had some recollection of Lu Rui. It's just that they hadn't seen each other for decades, and both underwent significant changes, failing to recognize one another. Chapter 1110, Zhou Tian Star Fighting Sword Embryo, Heavenly Fragrance Goo. Chapter 1110, Chapter 390, Zhou Tian Star Fighting Sword Embryo, Heavenly Fragrance Goo. Qingzhu, your sister Qingzhu. Lu Rui looked at the Foundation Establishment senior before her with some astonishment, not expecting it to be Auntie Miaoga's daughter, Lu Qingzhu. She had a considerable impression of Lu Qingshan and Lu Qingzhu. She knew that they were taken as disciples by a great master in their early years and were not at home. She immediately guessed Lu Qingshan's identity through his facial features and stature. In her heart, she couldn't help but feel startled and envious. Lu Qingshan. Lu Qingshan controlled the spirit boat as he descended, looking at Lu Rui before him, calmly indicating his identity. His own father truly had too many children. Apart from his sister Lu Qingzhu and his brother Lu Qingsong, he didn't feel much for his other siblings. For someone like Lu Rui right before him, he even felt a bit estranged. Qingshan, Qingzhu, thank you both. Lu Rui didn't mind Lu Qingshan's attitude and expressed her gratitude. Then she briefly explained her own situation and why she was attacked. Since Rui's sister is planning to return home, why not go with us? My brother and I are also going back. Lu Qingzhu spoke in a tranquil and gentle voice. Okay. Lu Rui nodded her head. Humming, at that moment, Lu Rui frowned slightly as an ancient and dim box, seemingly made from dried wood, appeared in her hands. This was one of the treasures she obtained from the ruins, the material of which she did not know and couldn't open. She thought of having her father look at it after returning home. But at this moment, the long box strangely had some movements, as if it felt close to Lu Qingshan. Qingshan, this is a box I obtained from the ruins earlier. It has always been silent, but now it seems to feel a certain closeness to you, Lu Rui said with a slightly weird expression. This sort of occurrence was very rare. If a treasure was sentient, it should at least be a legendary spiritual treasure. But if this box was a spiritual treasure, wouldn't that be astounding? Oh. Lu Qingshan, hearing this, raised his eyebrows slightly in curiosity, took the wooden box from Lu Rui, and immediately sensed a wave of affinity and longing. He tried to pour his own sword qi into the box. The surface of what had originally seemed like a wooden box suddenly shone with dazzling light, and with a crack, it opened and disappeared in a puff of smoke. Inside, a sword embryo lay quietly. This sword embryo, only 3 feet long and unsealed, looked blunt and inconspicuous, and quietly floated in front of Lu Qingshan. This is a divine object concealing itself, choosing its master on its own. Lu Qingzhu said with some surprise after seeing this situation. Lu Rui nearby heard this and was completely baffled. What was going on? Was the most precious thing she obtained from the ruins, in fact, this sword embryo? Yet she had acquired a great treasure without recognizing its value. You have a good eye. Lu Qingshan looked at the sword embryo before him, chuckled lightly, and stretched out his hand to grasp the sword embryo, saying, "Let's see if you are worthy of being my sword." Hum. In an instant, as the sword embryo was held in Lu Qingshan's hand and filled with his sword qi and mana, it burst into a magnificent stardust brilliance. With a single slash forward, the simple-looking sword embryo seemed to trigger a meteor shower, stars shining brilliantly, majestic and imposing, causing the space in front to explode violently, creating ravines of sword qi. Heavenly Circulation Starry Sword, Heavenly Circulation Starry Sword Technique. Lu Qingshan, holding this sword, sensed a stream of information and a sword technique. He knew the sword's name was Zhou Tian Star Fighting Sword, which was originally nurtured with sentience and was a 4th-rank flying sword. However, due to its master's demise, without mana cultivation, it had fallen from a 4th-rank flying sword to a 3rd-rank sword embryo, with nearly extinguished spirit. This last wisp of spirit sensed Lu Qingshan's sword intent and thus recognized him as its master automatically. As for this sword technique, it was a cultivation technique inheritance from the original master, named Heavenly Circulation Starry Sword Technique. Sword Charging Bull's Might, Heavenly Circulation Starry Sword Technique. The names do seem quite fitting. Lu Qingshan's lips curled up slightly as he inwardly sighed, feeling that he truly was a child of fortune. Previously, his old man acquired a sword embryo by chance but couldn't use it and gave it to him. Now, this affordable sister picked up a sword embryo which she also couldn't utilize, and it immediately recognized him as master. Rui sister, this sword is fated to be with me and has already acknowledged me as the master. If there's anything you need, I can provide compensation. Lu Qingshan spoke, as the sword embryo transformed into a streak of starlight and entered his body. Following his meridians, it entered the sea of qi and elixir lake within, enjoying the nourishment and warmth of his mana. Although this sword's grade had fallen and degraded. As long as it is properly nurtured, it will be much simpler to advance later on. Moreover, in Lu Qingshan's eyes, falling to a sword embryo was also a blessing. During this nurturing process, he could shape it into the form he desired. Since this sword is fated for you, Qingshan, take it, consider it recompense for just now when you saved my life. Lu Rui shook her head. She had previously read about treasures choosing their owners in tales. But to really face it herself, she still felt somewhat bitter. After all, anyone with clear eyes could see that such an opportunity was not simple. However, thinking that the chosen one was her own brother, she felt a little more at ease. If some robber cultivator had stolen it and this situation of the treasure choosing its master had arisen, she would have been extremely aggrieved. Rui sister, you are preparing to return home for Foundation establishment. Here are some Foundation establishment elixirs, Foundation establishment spirit objects, and Cultivation elixir medicines. Seeing the situation, Lu Qingzhu immediately took out various treasures and elixirs from her storage bag and handed them to Lu Rui. Her brother was known for being straightforward and did not like to owe favors. Though they were siblings, she still tried her best to offer compensation, so that her brother wouldn't have to worry about owing a debt of gratitude and not knowing how to broach the subject. Isn't this unnecessary? Lu Rui was somewhat tempted but embarrassed to say so. You need these, and since both my brother and I have already achieved Foundation establishment, we have no use for them. It turns out you, Rui sister, are just about to prepare for Foundation establishment. Chapter 1111, Zhou Tian Star Fighting Sword Embryo, Heavenly Fragrance Goo. Chapter 1111, Chapter 390, Zhou Tian Star Fighting Sword Embryo, Heavenly Fragrance Goo. Lu Qingzhu said with a gentle laugh, making her approachable and as refreshing as a spring breeze. Lu Qingshan, upon seeing this, did not speak and with a wave of his hand, disposed of the 5 bodies of the robber cultivators, and piloted the spirit boat, carrying the 2 back to Bai Lake Mountain. A month later, Lu Qingshan, along with Lu Qingzhu and Lu Rui, returned to Bai Lake Mountain. Lu Miaoge and Lu Miaohuan were overjoyed to hear that their siblings had come back. Mom, why do you look like a demon cultivator, all demonically charming? Lu Qingshan couldn't help but tease upon seeing his mother's appearance. No one would take you for a mute if you stayed quiet. Lu Miaohuan responded to his comment with dismay, smacking the back of her son's head as she spoke. Her delicate nose was perky, her lips painted a bewitching, blood red, radiant as if dripping with charm, her eyes lightly shadowed, resembling a female boss with dramatic makeup. Auntie looks very elegant and beautiful. Lu Qingzhu covered her mouth, laughing softly with her gentle demeanor. Only in front of their parents would her brother act like a boy who had never grown up. Little Zhu has gotten better at speaking. Lu Miaohuan tapped her son on the forehead and then, holding Lu Qingzhu's hand with surprise, exclaimed, "Ah, little Zhu, you've broken through to Foundation establishment." Due to her inherent qualities from the abyssal ghoul blossom, she had already reached the 4th layer of Foundation establishment and could tell Lu Qingzhu's cultivation level at a glance. Yes, thanks to brother, I was able to make the breakthrough to Foundation establishment. Lu Qingzhu glanced at her brother with a smile. He's finally sensible. Upon hearing this, Lu Miaohuan's beautiful face broke into a smile. She then inquired about the years at Jianghu sect and the historic sword scripture trial at Heavenly Sword sect. Though she had learned much through messages, listening to her son tell it was a completely different experience. Rui, it must have been tough these past years being outside. How did you encounter Qingshan and Qingzhu? Lu Miaoge expressed concern about Lu Rui's situation. Their mother was a mere mortal who had left for Rui Prefecture with other children early on and was not at Bai Lake Mountain. Auntie, I was in danger and being chased. Thanks to Qingshan and Qingzhu, I was saved. Lu Rui looked mature, appearing to be 27 or 28, having consumed a preserving youth pill. Are you alright? Which power was it? Lu Miaoge asked with a gentle and soothing demeanor. Auntie, I'm fine. It was probably just a few loose cultivators. Lu Rui shook her head lightly in response. Alright, we'll discuss it more when we return home. Tonight, I will hold a feast to wash away the dust for you. Lu Miaoge led her 3 children back to Baiyun Peak. She then took Lu Qingshan and Lu Qingzhu to visit Lu Qingqi and Lu Qingxian. Qingxian, Qingxi, these are your brother Qingshan and sister Qingzhu. Lu Miaoge introduced the 2 to the little ones. The siblings were 5 years old, one lively and active, the other quiet and polite. Brother, sister. Lu Qingqi, very outgoing, rushed forward to hug Lu Qingshan and Lu Qingzhu, chatting away with curiosity about their adventures. Having been told much about Lu Qingshan early on, she held her previously unseen brother in high admiration. Beside her, Lu Qingxian remained quiet and gentle, greeting his brother and sister before listening to his sister Lu Qingqi chatting with the newly arrived brother and sister. "Mom, where's Dad?" At this moment, Lu Qingshan, noticing that his father had not appeared, asked. "Your father is busy dealing with some matter, he has gone to the Myriad Beasts mountain range," Lu Miaohuan informed directly. "Do my birth characters clash with Dad's? Why is he never home when I am?" Lu Qingshan, while holding his sister Lu Qingqi, remarked somewhat speechlessly. He had wanted to consult his father about the Seven Luminaries' Great Freedom Sword scripture now that he had achieved foundation establishment. He was becoming increasingly aware of the depth of this cultivation technique and felt he needed his father's guidance to comprehend the subsequent teachings. "Your father should be out for about a year, with a few months left, he should be returning. How long do you plan to stay home this trip?" Lu Miaoge spoke gently, like water. "There's no rush, our sect has nothing urgent for the time being." Lu Qingshan grinned, then began to inquire about his brother Lu Qingsong and his grandfather's affairs. On the periphery of the Myriad Beasts mountain range, a group of energy-refining cultivators was being chased by a second-rank huge bear. Even at the energy refinement late stage, they were no match for this giant bear. Just as they were driven to a dead end, a roar that pierced the sky, splitting the heavens, suddenly came from the depths of the mountain range. Roar! The roar was like a thunderstorm, rolling and tumultuous, shaking the trees and scattering leaves, making one's spirit tremble. Those who were already in dire straits upon hearing this roar, lost control of their spiritual power and stumbled, falling to the ground. Just as they were in despair and thought they were going to be smashed by the bear, they saw the fearsome giant bear howl towards the sky and then sprint towards the depths of the mountain range. "What's going on?" The group looked at each other in disbelief, not understanding what had happened. Was that roar just now the voice of a third-rank demon king? A demon king? Could it be that the Myriad Beasts mountain range is about to experience a beast tide again? Isn't a demon beast tide supposed to happen only once every 100 years or so? They were confused, but the next moment they felt a tremendous aura surging overhead. Looking up, they saw a meteor streaking across the sky towards the outer edge of the Myriad Beasts mountain range, happening so quickly they couldn't make sense of it. However, at this moment, a huge and ferocious beast, resembling a wolf or a tiger, with wings on its back and roaring with thunder, perched in the sky, growling and howling, its intimidating presence turning their faces pale, and churning their blood. After a while, the fierce beast reluctantly returned to the Myriad Beasts mountain range. "Is that the third-rank demon king, Wind Thunder Hound?" One of them swallowed, his voice hoarse. "That roar just now must have been from the Wind Thunder Hound." Chapter 11-12, Zhou Tian Star Fighting Sword Embryo, Heavenly Fragrance Goo. _4 Chapter 11-12, Chapter 390, Zhou Tian Star Fighting Sword Embryo, Heavenly Fragrance Goo. _4 Whence did the Wind Thunderhound come to this outer area? Just now a comet-like streak shot across the sky, resembling the escape light of a true pill master? Could it be that a true pill master provoked the Wind Thunderhound? A few speculated about the recent events. They dared not chat more, swiftly consuming elixir medicines to regain some strength before they left the Myriad Beasts mountain range. Regardless, the appearance of the Wind Thunderhound indicated that something was amiss in the Myriad Beasts mountain range. Indeed, a beast tide might well occur. Once a beast tide occurs, energy-refining cultivators like them, if not back in the marketplace, would undoubtedly perish. At the same time, several hundred miles away from the Myriad Beasts mountain range, the comet landed on the ground, revealing the figures of a man and a woman. The man wore a dark, luxurious robe, with a handsome, unparalleled face, though currently somewhat disheveled. The woman had a graceful demeanor, dressed in a lake blue skirt, her posture elegant and movements delicate. "Damn Wind Thunderhound, once I break through to core formation, you'll be slaughtered." Lu Chongsheng cursed discontentedly. He had been joyfully pushing through the demon beasts in the Myriad Beasts mountain range, seizing the spiritual vein origins, unaware of what offended the Wind Thunderhound, which suddenly attacked him. The Wind Thunderhound was formidable, rumored to have the bloodline of an ancient Truehound and awakened innate divine ability. Lu Chongsheng, accompanied by Ling Zixiao, naturally couldn't confront it. Whether they could defeat it was one thing. There were other demon kings within the Myriad Beasts mountain range. Should he conflict with the Wind Thunderhound, attracting the gaze of other demon kings, that would be troublesome. Thus, given the circumstances, he could only flee with Ling Zixiao. This was his, Lu someone, first disgraceful escape since beginning his adventures. If it weren't for the Starlight Plate, the 9-treasure Jade Rui, and the 3rd-rank Spirit Talisman's enhancement, he couldn't even outrun the Wind Thunderhound, but only resort to endless guileful head and talisman formation for a swift decision. "Lord, you've seized too many spiritual vein origins, some of which are feeder veins of other large spirit veins, likely affecting this Wind Thunderhound. Or perhaps the previously slain frenzied Thunder Tiger and certain demon beasts are related to this Wind Thunderhound." Ling Zixiao spoke with a smile. It was her first time seeing her lord disadvantaged. Perhaps due to her infinite trust in Lu Chongsheng, facing a 3rd-rank demon king like the Wind Thunderhound, she wasn't frightened at all. And indeed, Lu Chongsheng, as she trusted, had astounding escape techniques, his speed even exceeding typical core formation true masters, making even the 3rd-rank demon king unable to catch up. Possibly. Lu Chongsheng nodded. Although he did not provoke any 3rd-rank demon kings, this forceful pushing through 2nd-order monster beasts might have drawn the attention of a 3rd-rank demon king. "Lord, this type of demon king is highly intelligent, and has keen senses. If you continue to see spiritual vein origins, you must distance from this area, otherwise you will continue to attract the Wind Thunderhound's attention." Ling Zixiao continued. "The gains from this trip are plentiful enough, there's no need to relocate." Lu Chongsheng shook his head. This trip, despite being noticed by the Wind Thunderhound, was otherwise very smooth and fruitful. Judging by his assessments, the seized spiritual vein origins were sufficient to nurture the Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven spiritual vein to 2nd-tier top level, and potentially upgrade the Lingxiu Cliff to 2nd-tier. Hence, he planned to return home directly. Moreover, the storage bags he brought were almost full, continuing would be a waste. "All right." Ling Zixiao responded with a light smile. She then set up a formation to conceal their aura, waiting for their mana to recover before returning to Bai Lake Mountain. The intensive escape greatly exhausted Lu Chongsheng. If not for the profound origin bead, his mana would not even hold up. "If I had exerted my full strength, I wonder if I could suppress that Wind Thunderhound." Lu Chongsheng, holding 2 high-quality spirit stones, sat cross-legged in meditation, pondering. He had hundreds of 3rd-rank talismans in his hands. Setting up a talisman formation to bomb a 3rd-rank demon king was naturally feasible. However, faced with the Wind Thunderhound's innate divine ability, he wasn't entirely confident. When Lu Chongsheng fully recovered, setting off with Ling Zixiao to return to Bai Lake Mountain, the incident involving the Wind Thunderhound from Myriad Beasts mountain range also reached the Spirit Taming sect. The Spirit Taming sect, upon hearing of this, dispatched people to investigate, unaware why the Wind Thunderhound acted thus. Still cautious about any movements in the Myriad Beasts mountain range due to the beast tide that had severely damaged their vital energy 30 years ago. Jianghu Mountain. Lu Qingshan and Lu Qingzhu, along with Lu Qingqi and Lu Qingxian, visited their grandfather, Lu Yuanding at Jianghu Mountain. Lu Yuanding was over 100 years old. Even after consuming many treasure medicines and lifespan extension pills, he appeared quite aged, with distinctly white hair. Seeing his grandchildren and granddaughter, he was immensely happy, his spirits lifted considerably. Especially upon witnessing both of his daughters' foundation establishment break through, his excitement was unparalleled. Having 3 foundation establishment cultivators secure his family, something he couldn't even dream about in his early years, made him feel his life was complete. Qingqi, Qingxian, when you grow up, cultivate diligently just like your brother and sister. Lu Yuanding saw the 2 children, reminded of Lu Qingshan and Lu Qingzu's childish days, his voice gentle and kind. Grandfather, rest assured, when I grow up I'll cultivate diligently, not only to break foundation, but to become a core formation true master. Lu Qingqi, grasping her grandfather's beard with her little hand, chirped cheerily. Very well, when you break through core formation, come to Qingzhou Mountain and tell grandfather. Lu Yuanding, holding his granddaughter, laughed heartily. Just then, Lu Yuanzhong, with Lu Chenghua, arrived at the small courtyard, greeting Lu Yuanding, Lu Qingshan, and others. Chapter 1113, Zhou Tian Star Fighting Sword Embryo, Heavenly Fragrance Goo. _5 Chapter 1113, Chapter 390, Zhou Tian Star Fighting Sword Embryo, Heavenly Fragrance Goo. _5 moments later, Lu Yuanding turned to Lu Qingshan and asked gently, Qingshan, would it be convenient for you to have a sparring match with Chenghua? Just now, Lu Yuanzhong expressed his wishes to know the gap between their direct lineage and the talents of the immortal sects. The Qingzhou Mountain of today is not what it used to be. The family's powerful cultivation technique bestowed by Lu Chongsheng is the Pan-Yuan turning technique. Lu Chenghua not only possesses exceptional talent but is also the only person in the family who has succeeded in cultivating this technique. At these words, Lu Qingshan looked at Lu Chenghua standing next to him, who was at the foundation establishment first layer of cultivation level. Under normal circumstances, cultivators like him were by no means worthy of sparring with him. However, since his own grandfather had spoken, he nodded and said with a light smile, of course, that's possible. It's kind of you, Uncle Qingshan. Lu Chenghua, several years older than Lu Qingshan but still speaking with considerable courtesy according to the generational hierarchy, still carried a bit of pride in his brows. After all, he is the only one in Qingzhou Mountain who cultivated the Pan-Yuan turning technique, and the first in the family to condense a Dao foundation without flaw. He believes that even if he is not as excellent as a top talent like Lu Qingshan, he would not be too far behind. Instantly, several people moved to an open area of Qingzhou Mountain. Make your move. Lu Qingshan stood tall and slim, resembling a heavenly sword himself, and spoke. Aren't you going to draw your sword, Qingshan? Lu Yuanding, knowing his grandson is a sword cultivator, was puzzled to see him not drawing his sword. Were it anyone else who said this, Lu Qingshan might have retorted with, do you even merit my sword? But since it's his grandfather, he curbed his reaction and merely said with a smile, it's just a spar. Uncle Qingshan, please forgive my offense. Lu Chenghua's eyes sharpened slightly as he spoke, his hands forming gesture incantations and mana flowing around him, emitting a strong and profound aura. Immediately, an earthen yellow magic ring appeared and pressed down, rotating heavily towards Lu Qingshan. Facing such an offensive, Lu Qingshan flicked his finger, releasing sword chi that immediately shattered the magic ring. This, on the sideline, both Lu Yuanzhong and Lu Yuanding were taken aback. Even Lu Chenghua felt a moment of breathlessness. He hadn't expected his attack to be so easily negated. His expression grew solemn as he repeatedly performed gesture incantations, with 2 magic rings forming around him and overlapping rotations pressing down towards Lu Qingshan. But still, with a flick of Lu Qingshan's finger, sharp sword light burst forth, shattering the magic rings once again. Lu Qingzhu, standing at the side, hoped her brother would take it easy. But knowing that her brother never did such things on normal occasions. And besides, with Lu Chenghua's skill level, her brother would have to act, otherwise, it would be impossible for him to pull punches. She whispered to her grandfather, "Grandfather, my brother's skill is quite formidable. It's not evident in regular sparring, but Chenghua's strength is already quite impressive." Upon hearing these words and seeing the situation unfold, Lu Yuanding didn't know what to say. Meanwhile, Lu Yuanzhong was flooded with shock. He knew very well Lu Chenghua's capabilities, not much weaker than his own. Yet, before Lu Qingshan, it was like a child without threat. Didn't it imply that if Lu Qingshan genuinely made his move, he could almost instantaneously vanquish both him and Lu Chenghua? Thank you for your guidance, Uncle Qingshan. Lu Chenghua gave a wry smile at the side, sighing helplessly. The sparring match ended in quite a dramatic fashion. However, Lu Qingshan considered Lu Chenghua's strength to be more than passable, ranking in the upper middle level among the immortal sects. Hearing this, Lu Yuanzhong felt much more relieved. The family had devoted much effort and awaited over a decade to cultivate Lu Chenghua. If he turned out to be only inferior within the immortal sects, it would indeed be a despairing outcome. Yet through this sparring, they had gained a rough idea of the prowess of the immortal sect geniuses and nascent soul seeds. A month later, Lu Chongsheng and Ling Zixiao returned to Bai Lake Mountain. Huh? Qingshan and Qingzhu are back? Just arriving home, Lu Chongsheng received news of his children's return, revealing a faint smile on his face. He thought that it was timely of him to return home. Had he delayed for a few more months, perhaps his children would have already returned to the Jinyang sect again. However, upon hearing that Lu Qingshan and Lu Qingzhu went to Qingzhu Mountain and White Tiger Mountain, he arrived at Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven and summoned out one mountain and river cauldron after another. Mount Sumeru. Lu Chongsheng called out to Mount Sumeru. He needn't arrange any formations as Mount Sumeru could refine the origin source on its own, using it to nourish the spirit veins. Yes, Master. Mount Sumeru replied with an ethereal and melodious voice, bringing each mountain and river cauldron deep into the earth's meridians. Yet, Lu Chongsheng kept one mountain and river cauldron, preparing to use it later to upgrade his Lingsue cliff used for cultivating and nurturing spiritual medicines. Afterward, Lu Chongsheng gave a pile of monster cores to Hong Lian, embedding them within the ancient beast taming charm. His Blackwater dragon spirit weapon had been under cultivation. This resource-intensive entity had been limited in its growth due to his limited resources in these years, so he had cut back on investment in this area. Now that he had monster cores, he naturally fed all of them, hoping to soon produce a few second-rank Dao soldiers and see their effects. Having finished these tasks, Lu Chongsheng remembered he still had a lottery draw and went to the summit, under the Mount Sumeru tree, thinking to himself, "System, lottery draw. Ding! Congratulations to the host on obtaining the heavenly fragrance goo. The reward has been placed in the system space, and the host can check it at any time." An image of a pink caterpillar emerged from the spinning wheel, accompanied by a system notification sound. Goo insect? Lu Changsheng's brow rose slightly upon seeing this prize. With the experience from owning the peach blossom goo and the hope goo, he had a rather positive impression of the system's goo insects. He felt such items could come more frequently, liking them for their usefulness. His mental spirit stirred slightly as he glanced into the system space. Goo insect, heavenly fragrance goo, quality, heavenly spirit goo, description. The heavenly Tao contains yin and yang, while humans possess good and evil, righteousness and wickedness, beauty and ugliness. The fragrant is loved by all, and those of heavenly fragrance are favored by the world. Chapter 1114, Zhou Tian Star Fighting Sword Embryo, Heavenly Fragrance Goo. _6 Chapter 1114, Chapter 390, Zhou Tian Star Fighting Sword Embryo, Heavenly Fragrance Goo. _6 The effects of this heavenly fragrance goo. Why does it seem a bit like the flawless heavenly fragrance body? Lu Chongsheng gazed at the heavenly fragrance goo before him, his eyes slightly congealed. Regarding his flawless heavenly fragrance body, through Hong Lian, he had a general understanding of its effects. This spiritual body can be divided into two parts. Innocence. Heavenly fragrance. The innocence part allows the possessor of the spiritual body to be pure throughout, with all meridians unobstructed, no bottlenecks before foundation establishment, a lifespan different from ordinary people, and extraordinary resistance to poisons in the flesh, reducing elixir toxicity. As for the heavenly fragrance part, the most obvious effect is the fragrance produced by the body. This scent can make one feel affectionate, and even have a heart-stirring effect during intimate moments between men and women. According to Hong Lian, if the possessor of the flawless heavenly fragrance body were to break through to the core formation stage, they would somehow be favored by the heavens and earth, enhancing their fortune by a few points. Although this talk of fortune is very mystical and hard to verify. But when breaking through from core formation to nascent soul, indeed, the nascent soul heavenly tribulation faced by the flawless heavenly fragrance body will be somewhat weaker. Extract. Lu Chongsheng extracted this heavenly fragrance goo. Instantly, he gained a detailed understanding of this goo insect. It really does share some similarities with the flawless heavenly fragrance body. Lu Chongsheng, holding the heavenly fragrance goo in his hand, was surprised. Once refined, this heavenly fragrance goo could make its owner emanate a body fragrance that endears them to others. After the goo insect ascends to second transformation, the effect of this fragrance will further strengthen. Not only making others feel affectionate but also rendering them reluctant to harm the owner. When the goo insect ascends to third transformation, even enemies who smell this fragrance would soften their hearts and become unwilling to inflict harm. Upon reaching fourth transformation, this fragrance could indeed start improving destiny and fortune in subtle ways. However, breeding this heavenly fragrance goo is quite troublesome. At first transformation, it's manageable, just needing the scent of ordinary flowers. At second transformation, this flower scent must come from the fragrance of rare spiritual medicines. For third transformation, promoting the heavenly fragrance goo becomes very challenging. It requires the fragrance of heaven and earth spirit plants and spirit flowers. As for fourth transformation, it's no longer about ordinary fragrances, but divine scents, which are the incense offered in others' beliefs. Breeding this heavenly fragrance goo is too difficult, isn't it? Goo like peach blossom goo is much simpler. Hope goo doesn't even need to be bred. I possess the flawless heavenly fragrance body, peach blossom goo, and if I refine this heavenly fragrance goo on top of that, I might really become a male enchantress. Lu Chongsheng looked at the goo worm, stroked his chin, and mused to himself. But he had no intention of refining this heavenly fragrance goo. Like now, he always keeps the fragrance of the flawless heavenly fragrance body sealed away. Only during dual cultivation would he use it for some romantic fun. Otherwise, what kind of image would a grown man emit fragrance wherever he goes? With the addition of another heavenly fragrance goo, there would really be a scented breeze with every step. Thinking of this scene made Lu Chongsheng shudder. When I eventually travel to the Jin kingdom, I should prepare some gifts for Yao Yao. Since she was born into the five poisons cult, she might have some kind of life-bound goo worm. This heavenly fragrance goo would make a good meeting gift for her. Lu Chongsheng thought of his daughter whom he had yet to meet. This daughter, being the possessor of the flawless heavenly fragrance body, would benefit greatly on her path of growth if she could refine this heavenly fragrance goo. And fragrance, such a thing for a grown man like him feels strange. But for a cute, lovely, and beautiful young girl, it would be quite normal. I wonder how Yao Yao is doing right now. Lu Chongsheng couldn't help but sigh when he thought that his daughter had already achieved foundation establishment. He felt that so much time had passed. When he goes to the Jin kingdom, it will be time to meet his daughter, Meng Xiaochan. He really wanted to take his daughter home, but unless he brought her back by force, it would likely not be easy. Chapter 11:15, The Golden Silkworm Goo and the Six-Winged Golden Silkworm. Chapter 11:15, Chapter 391, The Golden Silkworm Goo and the Six-Winged Golden Silkworm. Rui, this is the Three Suns Elixir. It can dispel hidden injuries and potential problems in your body, just like the bright sunshine eradicating them all. These 3 bottles of 100 herbs elixir can nourish your meridians and flesh, and this jade liquid spiritual wine has the effect of condensing your spiritual power. Drinking a cup every day can improve your foundation. As for foundation establishment elixirs, Daddy here has some top-grade foundation establishment elixirs. In the Lu family mansion, Lu Chongsheng looked at his daughter Lu Rui and said with a smile. His daughter had matured a lot after being away for so many years, her brows now bore a trace of severe and evil qi. Without even thinking, he knew that she must have suffered a lot while being outside. Now that she was back home preparing for her foundation establishment, he, as a father, naturally wouldn't be stingy. Even though his daughter only possessed an 8th grade spiritual root and had a slim chance of breaking through, he would prepare everything thoroughly. Daddy, Lu Rui looked at the elixirs and spiritual wine handed to her by her father, her lips slightly parted and a warm current flowing in her heart. Having seen the cruelty of the cultivation world, where countless people fought and killed each other for a few hundred, or even dozens of spirit stones. Seeing her father's generous gesture now, she felt somewhat dazed. But thinking back, when she left, her father did the same, preparing elixir medicines, talismans, magic artifacts, and puppets all for them. As for foundation establishment spiritual objects, our home doesn't have suitable ones at the moment, but I've asked your Aunt Miao Yun to purchase them externally and prioritize your needs. You've had a hard time outside all these years, relax a little now that you're back home. Lu Chongsheng reached out to touch his daughter's head, his smile gentle. Daddy. What if I fail in breaking through? Facing such profound paternal love, Lu Rui felt some pressure swell within her heart. With only an 8th grade spiritual root and despite all the preparations, her chances of foundation establishment were at most 20 to 30%. Foundation establishment involves success and failure, it's all very normal. Just consume and refine these and you should be ready for your attempt at foundation establishment. Even if you fail, you can try a second time, it's not a big deal. Lu Chongsheng said cheerfully. For a child who was willing to give it their all, he was also willing to provide a few more chances. Lu Rui was taken aback by these seemingly light-hearted words. But she understood that her father didn't want her to feel pressured. Daddy, rest assured, I will certainly not let you down. Lu Rui spoke with a hint of heroism in her brows. Although her father hadn't demanded much from his sons and daughters since childhood, implying that doing their best was enough, it was precisely because of this that she felt even less willing to disappoint her father. Good, don't put too much pressure on yourself. Cultivate in peace, and if there's anything, you can come to me. If I'm not around, seek out your Aunt Miao Yun. Lu Chongsheng said with a smile. After settling his daughter's matters for the time being, Lu Chongsheng went to find his daughter Lu Wangshu, concerned about her progress in the talisman path during his absence. After checking Lu Wangshu's talisman path progress, Lu Chongsheng advised her to stabilize it further. Daddy, if this continues, my cultivation level will really be surpassed by Ling Xiao. Where will I put my face then? Lu Wangshu complained somewhat aggrievedly. How could that be? You should be confident in yourself. Isn't the 99 mystical talisman scripture you are cultivating meant for accumulating power over time? Once you break through to foundation establishment, won't you be incomparable? Lu Chongsheng saw the look on his daughter and couldn't help but laugh inwardly, comforting her soothingly. But he thought to himself whether he should provide his son Lu Lingxiao with some additional challenges to give his daughter a sense of urgency and motivation to strive harder. Once his daughter gets defeated by Lu Lingxiao, then he could strengthen her again, tsk. Daddy, are you secretly thrilled inside, thinking that this will pressure me? Lu Wangshu pouted at her father and said, what if your treasured daughter gets so disheartened that she never recovers? Tell me, what do you want? Lu Chongsheng glanced at his daughter, not believing for a moment she would become so disheartened. Whimper, so this is what I am in Daddy's heart. Lu Wangshu looked aggrieved. If you don't say now, there won't be another chance. Lu Chongsheng said straightforwardly. I just want you to cultivate a Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus for me. Lu Wangshu immediately cozied up to her old father, speaking affectionately, Daddy, as you know, drawing talismans in the void consumes a lot of mana, and no matter how much I save now, once I break through to foundation establishment and lack mana, I won't be able to do anything. You really do think far ahead. Lu Chongqing chuckled and said, cultivating a Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus is too troublesome and takes too long. When the time comes, Daddy will give you another treasure instead. Hee, Daddy, I knew you love me the most. Lu Wangshu said cheerfully. Though she felt pressure from the progress of Lu Lingxiu's cultivation level. She never believed that he could win against her. 3 days later, Lu Qingshan and Lu Qingzhu returned from White Tiger Mountain and Flower Fruit Mountain back to Bai Lake Mountain. Little Zhu. Lu Chongqing looked at his gentle and peaceful daughter Lu Qingzhu with a smile on his face and embraced her, sharing a hug of reunion after a long time. Then he patted his son's shoulder and nodded, not bad. He knew without asking that his daughter's breakthrough in the foundation establishment was related to his son, and he was quite satisfied with that. Moreover, not seeing his son for over a decade, there were some visible changes, his sword intent no longer as sharp and unveiled. Lu Chongqing knew this was progress on the sword Dao. As the family gathered and chatted about old times, Lu Qingshan mentioned the opportunity he obtained from Lu Rui. Regarding Rui, I will provide her with compensation. Lu Chongqing spoke out, asking Lu Qingshan to show him the sword embryo. He had seen countless magic artifacts, even heavenly spirit treasures, but he had never seen a spiritual treasure. Whoosh! Lu Qingshan took out the simple and unadorned Zhou Tian Star Fighting Sword. Chapter 11:16, Golden Silkworm Gu and Six-Winged Golden Silkworm. Chapter 11:16, Chapter 391, Golden Silkworm Gu and Six-Winged Golden Silkworm. After his days of nurturing, this sword embryo has gained a bit more luster. This sword embryo is quite good, but it lacks some sharpness for you. You can gather some essence gold, and later I will help you refine it again. Lu Chongqing, as a third-order top-level artifact refiner, saw the condition of this sword embryo at a glance. The sword is naturally excellent, but its compatibility with Lu Qingshan is only about 70%. If this sword embryo serves as the core, mixed with a large amount of essence gold as spiritual materials, the sharpness of the flying sword would be greatly enhanced, making it more suitable for Lu Qingshan. Father, you know artifact refining too? Lu Qingshan said in surprise. Fairly decent. Understanding one method opens doors to many, I know a bit or two. Lu Chongqing replied with a smile. Lu Qingshan was somewhat skeptical, finding it unbelievable that his own father also understood artifact refining. He did not say anything but asked for guidance on the 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture. Naturally, Lu Chongqing did not hide his skills. Initially, he had not taught everything because saying too much would have been incomprehensible to the other party. Under Lu Changsheng's guidance, Lu Qingshan had a moment of enlightenment and went on to closed-door cultivation. Seeing this, Lu Chongqing smiled and felt moved by his son's extraordinarily remarkable talent in the sword Dao. Afterward, he cared about his daughter Lu Qingzu's situation, asking about her daily life. His son, Lu Qingshan, with his carefree nature, shone brightly outside and naturally would not find life boring. But his daughter, Lu Qingzhu, with her calm temperament, probably found life somewhat monotonous and dull. Daddy, facing her father's care, Lu Qingzhu responded gently and tenderly that her life was fine, and her brother Lu Qingshan always took great care of her. The only concern was her brother's personality. If treated unfairly, he could suffer greatly, and she hoped Lu Chongqing could perhaps give some gentle advice. Sigh. Lu Chongqing sighed softly, knowing that his son Lu Qingshan's behavior was difficult to change, partly because that was just his nature. Moreover, it was also subtly influenced by the integration with the seed of law. If one day his personality changed drastically, no longer being sharp and distinct, it could also shatter his sword heart. Little Zhu, you can also keep an eye on him. Lu Chongqing gently rubbed his daughter's head, speaking softly. He gave his only second-order top-level puppet to his daughter, along with 10 third-rank talismans. Don't let your brother find out. Lu Chongqing looked at his daughter's surprised expression and chuckled softly. If Lu Qingshan knew, this youngster might become even more wildly confident. Daddy, Lu Qingzhu pursed her lips gently. As a disciple of the Jianghu sect and a Foundation establishment cultivator, she naturally knew the value of the second-order top-level puppet and third-rank talismans. Such high-grade puppets and talismans were nearly impossible to buy in the marketplace. Keep these. You both are often away from home, and Dad can't be by your side, so you have to take care of yourselves. Lu Chongsheng watched his daughter's composed demeanor and spoke gently. Thank you, Daddy. Lu Qingzhu smiled softly. After spending half a month with his wives and children at home, Lu Chongsheng began his closed-door cultivation. Although he had not practiced during his year in the Myriad Beasts mountain range, he had accrued a lot of cultivation and magical power through his children. He planned to take advantage of these days when the spirit vein was upgrading to make a big push and condense the remaining 9 yin-yang primordial pills. Then, he would harvest the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus, refine it to form his second Dantian, and start condensing 36 more yin-yang primordial pills. By then, the spirit vein of Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven would have mostly been cultivated and upgraded, and he could begin his core formation. Gene Kingdom, Immortal Spider Marketplace. Buzzing, the marketplace's great formation began operating, shrouded in mist and brimming with spiritual light, vaguely showing a gigantic blood jade spider dominating, enveloping the entire marketplace, barring everyone from entry or exit. Outside the drunk Immortal Pavilion, a beautiful purple-dressed young lady approached gracefully. Her purple veil hid her real face, making it unclear. Yet, her snow-white skin that seemed to coalesce, her long willowy brows, and her eyes shimmering like the azure waves of stars, could captivate countless men. Many cultivators seeing this young lady couldn't help but reveal a look of amazement, unable to move their eyes from her extraordinary demeanor. Miss Su, what's happening? The purple-dressed girl entered the hall, looking at a black-clad beautiful woman and asked softly. Her voice was gentle like a soft breeze, enchanting like celestial music. Miss, we just discovered that junior sister Lu Dai was secretly slain here in the marketplace, so I activated the formation to prevent the assassin from escaping. The beautiful woman said immediately. Are there any leads? The girl tilted her head and inquired. This person's methods are very peculiar. The traces on the corpse show the corpse evil chi of the Heavenly Corpse sect, the ghost energy of the Yiming Ghost sect, and the blood evil energy of the Gong family, the beautiful woman said softly, leading the girl to examine the corpse. Do we have people from these forces in our marketplace? The girl's eyes sparkled entrancingly. Yes, these forces all have representatives stationed here in our marketplace. The beautiful woman whispered. Then let's go. The girl's purple gown fluttered as her lush black hair cascaded down her slim waist, beautiful as a celestial being. Ah, where to? The beautiful woman was stunned. To capture them. The girl's eyes twinkled, her veiled face revealing a sweet and enchanting expression. Isn't it related to these houses? Then just capture them all, and well no. The beautiful woman was dumbfounded and speechless. She had never expected the young lady to take such action. Considering that both the Heavenly Corpse sect and the Yiming Ghost sect were top-tier sects. Even if this immortal spider marketplace was under their 5 poisons cult, it was not feasible to just apprehend disciples from other sects. Chapter 11:17, Golden Silkworm Goo and Six-Winged Golden Silkworm. Chapter 11:17, Chapter 391, Golden Silkworm Goo and Six-Winged Golden Silkworm. What's wrong? The young girl's eyebrows slightly furrowed, her nose still as a maiden's, like an innocent and cheerful girl, she asked, isn't there enough manpower in our marketplace to take them down? Do I need to inform Sister Xiao Chan? Enough, I will make the arrangements. The beautiful woman, thinking of the girl's identity, sighed inwardly and said no more. Provoking forces like the Heavenly Corpse sect and Yiming Ghost sect stationed in the marketplace might cause trouble. Yet, disobeying this young miss and making her unhappy would mean trouble now. Half a day later. At the Immortal Spider Peak, inside a grand palace. Nobly dressed men and women were bound, their mana restricted, unable to move. Nangong Yaoyao, what is the meaning of this? Miss Yaoyao, is there perhaps some misunderstanding here? Our Gong family has always had good relations with your sect, Nangong Yaoyao. You judge us based on the traces of techniques on the corpse, isn't that too hasty? These people, either rich or aristocratic, all came from powerful families. Caught unexpectedly, all were fiery with anger. On the high platform of the palace, a girl in purple gauze covering her face sat casually to the side, resting her chin on her hand, one leg over the other. Her figure was perfect, her legs long and straight like mutton-fat jade, emitting a dazzling and mesmerizing luster. Don't be angry, everyone. Yaoyao just wants to know if my senior sister's death has anything to do with you all. Nangong Yaoyao looked at the furious people inside the hall, her beautiful eyes blinked softly, she spoke sweetly and cutely. Confirming that everyone from the marketplace had been captured, her clothes fluttering, the bells tied at her waist tinkling clearly, her fragrant body approached one of them. Then, her star-like eyes shimmered with a dreamy, stunning light as she sweetly asked, "Senior brother, does this have something to do with you?" The young man being questioned by Nangong Yaoyao looked into those beautiful eyes, his eyes momentarily lost. He wasn't unfamiliar with beautiful women. But he swore, he had never seen such beautiful eyes in his life. This beauty was indescribable, beyond words. Under the gaze of these beautiful eyes, his mental spirit, will, even his soul, were sinking, willingly surrendering to her charm, ready to go through fire and water for her. A moment later, only the image of the girl in purple filled his pupils, he blankly said, "I was cultivating in the courtyard at the time, and do not know of this matter." Then, what was your purpose coming to the Immortal Spider Marketplace? Nangong Yaoyao continued to inquire sweetly. Facing such a question, everyone else in the hall felt a chill in their hearts. You must know, this man is a foundation establishment cultivator just like Nangong Yaoyao. Yet, faced with Nangong Yaoyao's tactics, he could not resist at all. A moment later, Nangong Yaoyao looked towards another woman and asked the same question. However, this woman was wary and closed her eyes, refusing to look into Nangong Yaoyao's eyes. Pu. Seeing this, Nangong Yaoyao lightly lifted her hand, a 1-inch-long golden light shot out, piercing back and forth through the woman's chest, spurting out clusters of bloody flowers. Ah! The woman immediately let out a shrill scream of pain. Sister, just tell Yaoyao. Nangong Yaoyao, still with her face covered by purple gauze, remained full of sweet smiles, her voice melodious, her beautiful eyes emitting an enchanting purple glow. The woman felt as if something was devouring her internal organs, her eyes bulging, veins throbbing, pain causing her to break into cold sweats. Hearing Nangong Yaoyao's voice, which sounded like heavenly music, she suddenly felt much of her pain dissipating, and a feeling of gratitude involuntarily surged in her heart. She suddenly realized something was amiss, yet she gradually lifted her head to gaze into Nangong Yaoyao's purple luminescent and beautiful eyes, feeling her mental spirit start to sink, as if the person before her was someone she was most close to. This matter has nothing to do with me, but it might very likely be the doing of the Wuchang ghost. I came here this time because I heard news about the 6-winged golden silkworm, preparing to verify this matter. A moment later, the woman spoke with a hoarse voice. 6-winged golden silkworm? Upon hearing this, Nangong Yaoyao lightly blinked her lovely eyes, appearing playful and adorable, and immediately inquired, "Where is this 6-winged golden silkworm? Do you have any relevant information?" Her life-bound goo worm is named Golden Silkworm Goo. If she could refine it with the 6-winged golden silkworm again, it could ascend to a celestial goo, serving as an external incarnation, a vessel for the second nascent soul. Moreover, she remembered that the 6-winged golden silkworm was a fierce and unusual species. If cultivated to the 3rd rank, it could refine several top-level magical treasures or even divine skills. All I know about 6-winged golden silkworm is that the person is named Chu Changtian, who has possibly fled to the 5 Poisons cult after killing the son of ghost demon Jinren, the specifics I haven't yet investigated." The woman's face was pale, her eyes unfocused as she spoke. Chu Changtian. Nangong Yao Yao memorized the name. And then she looked at the others remaining, asking whether anyone knew about the situation, and why they came to the Immortal Spider Marketplace. Although her trip was to investigate a murder case, it was also an opportunity to clear out other forces' spies planted in her marketplace. After handling the matter, she came to a palace, took out a token, and sweetly called out, "Sister Xiao Chan." Boom! Moments later, the palace doors opened. Nangong Yao Yao, with a face full of joy, entered the grand hall, and upon seeing a girl with delicate exquisiteness, otherworldly beauty, dreamlike and vague appearance around the ages of 18 or 19, affectionately called out, "Sister Xiao Chan." During her speech, she burst into the other's embrace like a carefree little girl, looking charmingly naive. "Why are you still like a little child?" Meng Xiaoquan's eyebrows curved beautifully, her eyes filled with doting love as she gazed from dreamlike beautiful eyes. "Hee, I am just a child in front of Sister Xiao Chan," Nangong Yao Yao coyly said, sharing the day's events with Meng Xiaochan. Six-winged golden silkworm. Upon hearing the name, Meng Xiaoquan's eyes shimmered with a dreamy glaze. Then she softly said to Nangong Yao Yao, "Since this person could kill the son of ghost demon Jinren, it shows that he is exceptional, and the sect can investigate this matter." "Aha!" Nangong Yao Yao, looking adorably appealing, continued, "Sister Xiao Chan, how long will mother be away this time? If you miss master, let's visit him at Heartless Ridge later." Meng Xiaochan gently stroked Nangong Yao Yao's hair, speaking softly. Yet in her heart, she hoped her master would stay in Heartless Ridge a bit longer. Before, when Yao Yao broke through to Foundation establishment, master had said he would go on a long journey, and she guessed what master might be planning. Most likely to go to Jianghu country, searching for that figure who always haunted his thoughts. Now that master's Lockhart Gu has been removed, going to Jianghu country, Lu Lang is probably in great danger. Meng Xiaochan looked at Nangong Yao Yao in front of her and sighed inwardly. Knowing that once Heartless Ridge's matters were settled, master would still go to Jianghu country. Wondering if master would spare Lu Lang for Yao Yao's sake. Having Nangong Yao Yao, she could see that her master's temperament had significantly changed. Chapter 11:18, Heavenly Dao Jie Dan, the second Dantian is complete. Bihu Lake Mountain, Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven, Changsheng Hall. Lu Changsheng sat cross-legged, a treasure-like dignity about him. Within the Qi Ocean core, 36 yin-yang primordial pills revolved, causing the elixir lake to boil, surging with astonishing waves of mana fluctuations. Buzz, 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 yin-yang energies flowed around his body, vast and mysterious, exuding a spiritual pressure almost surpassing that of a false core immortal, making the air within the cave mansion seem to solidify. Yin-yang primordial elixir method, 9 at small achievement, 36 at great success. After nearly half a year of closed-door cultivation, Lu Changsheng finally perfected this secret technique. Just at this moment, from within Lu Changsheng, a sudden and inexplicable pulsing surged, as if on a whim. His yin-yang creation classic inexplicably began to stir, actively circulating, indicating an intent to challenge the third layer of the cultivation technique, the core formation stage. Is this what they call Heavenly Dao core formation? A trace of a smile appeared on Lu Changsheng's lips. Just like Heavenly Foundation establishment, when a cultivation technique is practiced to the limit, there's a chance that the cultivator's realm will break through on its own. Qi refinement breaking through to Foundation establishment is known as Heavenly Foundation establishment. Foundation establishment breaking through to core formation is then known as Heavenly Dao core formation. As long as one follows this thread of spiritual mechanism, it can increase the probability of breakthrough by 30 to 40% during the process. Back then, Lu Changsheng had continuously used his yin-yang energies to nourish Lu Maiage's Tai Dao seed, which had allowed the latter to encounter such a rare opportunity. Unexpectedly, now that the yin-yang primordial elixir method was perfected, such an opportunity had emerged. Heavenly Dao core formation is good, but I don't need it. Lu Chongqing circulated his cultivation technique, forcibly suppressing his mana from breaking through, allowing this spur-of-the-moment opportunity, this predestined chance, to slowly dissipate. What countless others yearned for in their dreams, desiring to the point of madness, was so easily relinquished by Lu Chongqing. With my talent and foundation, why would I need to rely on this so-called heavenly Dao core formation? Lu Chongqing looked calm and composed, stood up, and straightened out his robe before stepping out of the cave mansion. If it weren't for the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus, now that the family's spirit vein had already been nurtured to the peak of the second rank, he might have considered taking this opportunity to break through. But with everything fully prepared, why rely on this so-called heavenly Dao opportunity to disrupt his own plans? After all, what has always hindered his core formation isn't the process of core formation. It's the quality of the core. Especially now that the yin-yang primordial elixir method had reached great success, Lu Chongqing was hopeful that his golden core could go a step further than superior gold core, reaching the top tier of immortal golden cores, just as during his foundation establishment. Lu Chongqing came outside Chongqing Hall, looking towards the Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus within the spiritual eye spring. This Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus had been nurtured by him using the myriad spirits bottle for over 10 years. But it had only grown slightly larger and had not undergone any noticeable qualitative transformation. To cultivate it into a Tianyuan lotus would take at least several more decades. Therefore, Lu Chongqing had long given up on the idea of cultivating the Tianyuan lotus. The Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus is sufficient to act as a true Pill Master's second Dantian. After I refine the lotus into a void treasure, creating a second Dantian, I estimate that the number of elemental elixirs condensed might easily surpass 36. Lu Chongqing contemplated silently. The yin-yang primordial elixir method was perfected with 36 pills. After reaching great success, more could continue to be condensed. The difficulty would increase, however, placing pressure on the Qi Ocean core. However, as a third-rank heaven and earth spiritual plant, once this Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus is refined into the second Dantian, it will certainly be able to accommodate far more mana than a foundation establishment cultivator's own capacity. Lu Chongqing did not immediately pick this Tianyuan Supreme King Lotus. Instead, he walked out of the Mount Sumeru cave heaven to the Lu family mansion. He inquired of his wife, Lu Miaoyun, if there had been any new developments at home during his time in seclusion. There haven't been any issues at home, Lu Miaoyun gently shook her head, narrating some daily trivial matters of the household. For instance, children going out, breakthroughs in cultivation, and the like. Although the patriarch of the Lu family is Lu Xingyang. Nevertheless, because Lu Chongqing always consulted with Lu Miaoyun, Lu Xingyang would still report many matters to Lu Miaoyun once again. Aha! Lu Chongqing, hearing that there were no major incidents, wasn't too concerned. He then listened to Lu Miaoyun talk about issues related to other family forces. She mentioned that Azure Phoenix Immortal had not shown herself, and now the Azure Phoenix Immortal city was increasingly chaotic, relying solely on several false core immortals to stabilize the populace. The situation was precarious. Have Qing Shan and Qing Zhu returned to your country? Lu Chongqing asked. Regarding the matter of Azure Phoenix Immortal City, he had previously inquired with his son, Lu Qingshan, about the situation upon their return. Lu Qingshan mentioned that they had been in the inner city at the time and hadn't felt much. However, he heard from his mentor that it was highly probable that Azure Phoenix Immortal had left Azure Phoenix Immortal City to break through to Nascent Soul. Qing Shan and Qing Zhu are still at home. Qing Shan seemed to have something for you, husband. Lu Miaoyun spoke up. Oh. Lu Chongqing nodded his head and went to ask his son what he wanted. Lu Qingshan didn't have anything particularly urgent. He just wanted to verify his understanding of the Seven Luminaries' Great Freedom Sword scripture with Lu Chongqing after completing his study. Lu Qingshan then mentioned he planned to return to Jinyang's sect with Lu Qingzhu. I will check the schedule for the Green Cloud Spirit ship later and have someone prepare the tickets for you in advance. Upon hearing this, Lu Chongsheng spoke up. Dad, you have such connections? Lu Qingshan was somewhat surprised. He hadn't expected such connections with Qingyun's sect in their family. Your father's connections are broader than you imagine. Lu Chongsheng glanced at his son and said so. He then helped solve his doubts regarding the 7 luminaries' Great Freedom Sword scripture. Let me see your current combat strength. Lu Chongsheng took Lu Qingshan to the back mountain, wanting to evaluate his strength. To tell the truth, Lu Chongsheng was still unclear about the concept of unparalleled power within the same realm. Dad, be careful. Lu Qingshan held a golden magical sword and grinned as he spoke.